Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Off the Ball Live at the Sugar Club. Previewing the Dublin Racing Festival tonight, we've got Davey Russell, Rachael Blackmore, Patrick Mullins, Nicky English, Emma Doyle and John Duggan. But first, would you please welcome on stage Johnny Ward, Gilroy and Off the Ball's very own loose horse, Mr. Kevin Kilbane.
Well, that's the first hurdle of the evening got over and we haven't fallen down, so that's not bad. Well done. Hello, the Sugar Club. I don't think this crowd deserves the amount of winning tips that we're going to give them in the final part of the show tonight. They just haven't done enough to impress me yet, Johnny.
No, you just have to allow them to wait another hour and 40 minutes of crap to get through to the tips that may or may not win.
Hey, so Johnny's going to do the show on his own because the rest of the show is going to be absolutely brilliant. We've got some superstar guests. Today is a big day in the racing calendar, obviously. Some of the best horses in the world are in action on display in the Thyestes Day. We saw Presenting Percy making a seasonal debut today, a stunning victory.
Yeah, and the fact that Davey Russell is here, you know, hobbling after falling in the beginner's chase. Today was a great day's racing. It felt like the old days. It was like absolute bumper crowd, really kind of mild weather. And like they call it the race that stops the county, but it actually did feel like that today. It was really, really good racing at Gorn, and the Dublin Racing Festival is going to be a continuation of that, I think. Yeah,
Patrick Mullins is here. Obviously, they won the Thyestes. Apparently it's a big night, so we're absolutely delighted that we've taken them away from one of the best parties of the year to come and hang out with you guys. You haven't even given us a proper cheer yet. Hey! We got them back on side. Here we go. Did you have a good day, Johnny?
Yeah, I had a great day.
Was it a winning day? Was it a working day? Were you a working man today? Were you doing stuff?
Day, yeah.
No bets?
No bets today, actually. No. I had a couple of bets yesterday. Went well, and I met Daniel MacDonald of News Talk fame. Went to Mulligan's of Poolbeg Street very early in the day, which is quite unusual for us nowadays. But we had good fun. We went to the Dame Tavern eventually and met a few old friends.
Sounds joyous.
So you're working today and you're in official working capacity?
I was working for Gorn today, and it's a fantastic racetrack. I don't know if any of you have been, but it's a real country racetrack, and there's something a bit unique about going racing midweek when there's a big crowd. It's just like, how is everybody off work today? And everybody in Kilkenny was not working today. They're in Gorn. Like
Angela Merkel thinks we're working is the banner. So one of Johnny's official duties today is to interview the successful people involved, you know, the winning connections, the trainers, the jockey. How did you get on today, Johnny? Oh wait, the RTE cameras helpfully caught you at work. Watch him in his natural environment. We should adopt a David Attenborough voice here. Look, here he is. Here is the little man. Here is his prey. Oh, wait, yeah, I'll talk to you now. No, wait, hang on. Johnny's like,
note that I'm not watching this.
What's going on here? He's come around the back end of the horse. He's not said a word to you.
That's officially a burn, Johnny. Woo! Custard pie.
And the beauty of it was, in the middle of the race day, Richie Forrestal, who's the racing post editor, he goes, would you mind doing analysis of 3 of the races? And one of the races was that race, and he goes, so would you just give me the quote that you got from Pat Kelly? I was like, well, it was vaguely something along the lines of mumble, mumble, fuck you. And that was the quote I used.
Thanks, Johnny. That's a start as you mean to continue this evening. All right, so we are going to talk to some of the successful people from today, not least of which is one of the greatest legends of Irish racing. Please give it up for 2 Irish sporting legends, Nicky English and Davey Russell. Welcome. How are you? Nicky.
Hi, Joe. How's it going, man?
So, Davey, how are you feeling? A bit sore?
A bit sore, yeah, but I need the money.
Oh, God. What was the fall? Was it the end of the day, or?
Yeah, just in the beginner's chase, I just got a bit of a slap there and landed a bit awkwardly, but not too bad.
Okay, so not a bad day otherwise, though. Presenting Percy back out.
That's right, yeah, back on the road now again. It's great to have him back, yeah. And, I suppose, you get a bit excited when he comes back and he wins, but he still has a long way to go, maybe to justify being favoured for a Gold Cup, but at the same time, it's nice to have him back.
Yeah, Johnny, you were there. Apparently, he was clapped into the parade ring.
Yeah, it was like, I was kind of making the analogy piece I'm right at the moment. When Doyle was running, I think he ran in the Hennessy in 97. People really warmed to him, and it was kind of like when Kilkenny hurlers were really dominant, people, a bit like Dublin footballers now, John Small actually, people just kind of want like an upstart. They want like something coming from left field or from like basically an underdog. And Presenting Percy is trained by a very small yard in County Galway. County Galway is a complete racing backwater, and he's just different because he's owned by obviously Philip Reynolds, who would only have a handful of horses, and he's just such a beautiful horse. And funny enough, when he came into the parade ring after the race, I could tell that the adulation was a bit something slightly new to him, and he just lashed out a kick at the Goff sign, and Goffs had actually sponsored the Thyestes, and he was like, perfect. I don't give a fuck, so he's I think he'll take an awful lot of beating in the Gold Cup, and I would say for Davy, the thrill of riding a horse like that in the Gold Cup will be something else, because he just does everything right. Not Davy, the horse.
You've been with Presenting Percy every year at Cheltenham. 2 years ago, it doesn't completely destroy the field. Last year, a bit of controversy in the build-up with the handicapper, and then completely pissed home. It was like one of those wins where you're like, wow, this is amazing. So it's been a roll the whole way along. It must be amazing to be with the horse the whole way through something like that.
Yeah, that's right. I suppose, we are quite hard on the handicappers at times, because you're always wanting to get a few quid or a few pounds. A few pounds back.
Hopefully that's not the first double entendre of the night anyway.
And cat out of the bag.
I thought he was very hard on Presenting Percy, but then again, he's a bit he never really impresses you in a race. He just wins, and but the handicapper saw maybe a bit more than I was seeing.
Yeah, ended up being a bit right too. Nicky, we'll talk a bit more about Davy's racing life, but your racing life has been since you were pretty young, right? If Galway is a racing backwater, Tipperary sure as hell isn't.
No, I grew up near Limerick Junction Racecourse, which is Tipperary now, the Junction as we knew it. So my grandfather was very into horses, and my uncle. So since I was very young, I was going to see the races in Limerick Junction. Yeah, it was fantastic. Great summer's evenings. They're mostly flat racing we went to, even though I'd prefer National Hunt. But Clem Magner used to be training horses, I think, Davy, with white bridles on horses.
That's
I think, yeah. And it stood out and made an impression on me. So I was always interested in horses.
You're involved with a couple of different syndicates, the Men of 48 and the Men of 49, is that it?
Yeah, that was the first. Well, yeah, I never had a horse, by the way, that was clapped in or out of a parade ring. But yeah, we started off with a syndicate with Charlie Swan, actually, when he was starting off training, and we had a horse called Muralook, and he was a bit of a character, and he won a race actually eventually. He had a mind of his own, but the day he won the race I wasn't there, so it's a great thrill. If you were one of the greatest thrills I ever had was to see a horse that I was involved in winning a race. But
what horse you was run well around Leopardstown?
The Mooch.
The Mooch, yeah. He always kept his best for Leopardstown.
Yeah, it was great actually. We never dreamt that he could win there, but Muralook was he won a race, and I wouldn't even go to the races in Thurles. I was working. I always remember I went down to Victor Chandler had opened a betting office down in Bagot Street at the time. I'll tell you how long ago it is. That is a long time ago.
That was a great shot.
They'd give you free sandwiches and free coffee for a while there.
Yeah, especially if it's Nicky English, But Nicky English was in again for the sandwiches, Do you remember the Nicky English? Yeah.
But I also remember that there was a man going to back the horse, Muralook. He was 16 or 20 to 1. He was running a race in Thurles. And I said, geez, I don't think I'd back him now. I'm after seeing enough of him. I'm involved in him. And your man took my advice. He never backed him. And Julie Muralook won at 20 to 1. And I used to meet him going up and down Bagot Street for about 10 years afterwards. He said, you gobshite. Every time he'd see me, he'd tell me not to bet. That I was what I was anyway. But anyway, that was yeah, we've had a couple of horses. But we had a couple of horses since, and the Mooch was the most successful. Only at handicap level now, by the way. But anyway.
They were named after winning Tipperary teams, is that right? Or was that just it was a cover?
Oh, sorry, the Men of 48, the Men of 49. Yeah. Oh, they were. Yeah, there's a song actually. Well, how it came about was one of the members of the syndicate, Jim McCormack, Lord of Mercy, he's dead since, but he used to sing a song called The Men of 49, which was a song about Tipperary team winning the All-Ireland in 1949 against Laois. I couldn't sing. I couldn't.
Go on, give us a
I don't know word of it. But anyway, that's where the men of 49, and then when the syndicate changed a bit, it's now the men of 48, and it's Donny O'Connell who play with Tipperary now. They have flat horses now, Unsaidur and Sars and Cogardis that I'm not involved in.
Donny's mad into his horses as well.
Donny O'Connell's a great man for their horses, yeah. And he's been very lucky now with Unsaidur and Andy Slattery trained those horses. They've been very lucky, yeah.
Yeah, there's a huge hurling and football crossover that you don't really see until actually an event like the Hurling for Cancer charity comes along, and then suddenly all these lads come out, and actually they're not just there for the charity, and obviously they are, but they're also there because they're racing fans as well. Maybe you're aware of this, I don't know, that there is the kind of racing is a sport that attracts people from all different sports.
It does, I suppose. Look, sure, we're all sports fans, really. You know what I mean? Like, who doesn't know Kevin Kilbane? Do you know what I mean? And
there's many.
And who Nicky English, like, for a fella never kicked the ball in his life, and he still kicked the ball into the back of the net above in Crow Park. But like me growing up, like I knew who Nicky English was, and then to see him in a parade ring at a race meeting, like twas you'd be in awe of it. You know what I mean? And I don't know. I suppose GAA players probably watch the racing on the television, and they see us in and they like it's just a connection there. But it's a rural thing as well, I suppose. And I suppose we're a proud country, and we're very good at GAA because we're the only people that play it.
We're world leaders at GAA, like.
and we're not so bad at horse racing then. So I suppose it's connected. And look, growing up for me anyway, it was. You'd go to Park Equive of a Saturday, and you'd go to a pint of a Sunday, or you might go to a club game or something, and you'd go to a pint Sunday, and you'd meet the same fellas that you'd meet in the park. You'd meet him at the pint Sunday, and one you bounce off the other, and then you might go to Thurles, or where you meet him again, and then it just became. People were just, I don't know, there was everywhere you went, there was the same type of people going to both events.
I think the connection as well with hurling and racing is that they're generally performed where the land is quite good. So it's kind of like the south of the country is where, like, obviously hurling is generally played with the exception of Galway, where the land is good, and racing is like that as well. It's like basically that they're linked for a reason.
Kildare is the best land in the country. Not the best hurlers.
Not the May West at the hurling.
No, yeah, Kev, how did you get into it? Because when you joined Off the Ball, there was this kind of massive infusion of racing knowledge and interest. Suddenly, everybody's huddling around because we've generally got
just me tips, my bad tips. We've generally got a bad tip. That was it.
Hey.
Yeah. I did back 2 winners today though, and Davey was one of them presenting Percy, so I was pleased with that as well.
Nothing better than getting a winning tip from earlier on.
Yeah, that's it. I think it's in the room actually. I got a tip today, literally about 2 minutes before the off. Just make sure you get on presenting Percy, which I did. And then I backed Patrick Mullins in the last in the bumper. So yeah, I was made up.
And we've arranged for you to personally thank them tonight.
I've already said
a portion of your
Davey,
winnings. Yeah. So how did you get into racing? What was your gateway?
Probably through Niall. No, it was through my granddad. My granddad was big into racing. My dad was big into the racing. So I suppose it's the same as us all. We would have got into it through family members, my uncles, and I mean, I grew up close to Aintree, close to Haydock. So I would have been regularly going to Haydock at Aintree. Went to Cheltenham probably when I was about 17 or 18 as well. And then that was it. We went from there. So, I've kind of followed it since I was a young lad. Yeah.
Davey, the presenting Percy thing, what do you put down the popularity of certain individual horses? Like, because it's mad that certain horses kind of galvanise the whole country in a way. What do you think this horse in particular has that people like?
He keeps winning, I suppose, and
swing most guys.
Yeah, and I suppose he's kind of. I just suppose he keeps winning, and people have anybody that financially they like to keep it rolling on, and he seems to win at the right days, and obviously the big days as well. He seems to be a better horse, and the bigger the day, he seems to be the better he is. So
that definitely helps.
It's a big help for him, yeah. And I suppose Philip Reynolds and Anne, his wife, obviously they're he's a son of Albert, and you know what I mean. Albert Reynolds was a masterman for this country, so he'd have a connection that way too, and a great businessman, and he's just a very nice man, really, and they enjoy their racing as well, and they let the horse run away there. And to be honest, Philip is happy to let everybody feel they own him a bit of presenting Percy as well.
Yeah. I wondered though if part of it as well was your connection with the horse as well. Like last year was such an emotional victory. The interview that you gave afterwards was just so personal and open and honest, and I think Irish people very much respect that. And I don't know, I think there's a connection with you and this horse as well.
Yeah, would you believe my son was born a couple of a couple of weeks after Cheltenham, and his second name is Percy. Would you believe he's Liam Percy Russell? So a bit of pressure on him there, but I don't know what it is with the horse. I just enjoy riding him, and I like riding for the connections.
Does pressure come with a success like that after a while, where that expectation comes? Whereas other races, like I read what you're talking about, you win the national on Tiger Road, and you're like, there's no pressure to win the national. The pressure is to just be safe and get home.
Pressure is to get on him, to be honest, to get the ride, and once you have it, then I don't. Oh, sure, look, come here, I'm too old now to be worrying about that, and if they don't want me to ride them, I'm happy enough with that too, do you know what I mean? But I just love riding horses, and that's all I want to do is ride winners and ride horses and enjoy myself. And when I was a young lad, I suppose you were always worried maybe about where the next one would come from, and now I suppose I've always been lucky, really. I've always been lucky. I've always been capable of riding winners and finding a nice horse, and he just came along at a time there that I wasn't riding any nice horses. Well, no, I was, but any top class horses at the time, and I suppose he just sprung on the career again. You know what I mean?
On a scale of 1 to 10, like how easy a ride is he for a jockey?
Oh, very straightforward. He's a fantastic horse to measure. He jumps there, and he travels well during his race, but at the same time he can over race at times and he can under race at times, if you know what I mean. But he just seems to be better on the bigger day. The bigger the crowd, the more excitement he seems to rise to it. And but he doesn't. He's never really won a race by any manner on. He just kind of keeps doing things, you know.
That's the thing as well. Horses have intelligence. That, like, he knew today something big was happening. There was a clamour of people around the parade ring that, sadly enough, you don't get as often as you'd like at meetings anymore. And to have like this massive. I remember when See the Stars ran in Leopardstown. There was just this rush to go to the parade ring. It's not like, you know, in Japan or, you know, the Far East where people literally queue up to get into the races. We're a bit more chilled out about things than that, but you could tell with presenting Percy today that, you know, there was just this real emotion and like expectation. And I was actually talking to Eddie Scally, the course manager, and he was relaying, like, talking to Pat Kelly during the week about, like, would the horse run or not? And Pat Kelly was like, sure, what's the matter, like? And Eddie's like, matters a fair bit, like, you know. And it was like, it's been a mad year weather-wise, but the fact that it hasn't rained basically in 8 months in Dublin meant that Gordon was softer today, and Gordon had an emotional day with presenting Percy Run.
Yeah, we're obviously here tonight with thanks to the Dublin Racing Festival, which takes place at Leopardstown Racecourse on Saturday the 2nd and Sunday the 3rd of February. 15 races, 8 Grade 1s, 1.8 million in prize money. You can book your tickets now at leopardstown.com. Presenting Percy is entered for the Dublin Racing Festival, but there was some talk that maybe that won't happen now. What do you think?
Well, could. I wouldn't put it past Pat to Horse will tell him whether he's okay. And to be honest, I suppose he's come this far and waited for the ground. I suppose the ground seems to be a little bit drier in Leopardstown than anywhere else, and whether he'll chance him there or not, I don't know. But I wouldn't write it off now.
Okay, right.
Definitely wouldn't write it off. I don't know, did he ever run there? No, he didn't. I don't. Oh, did he? He might have.
He's never run at Leopardstown.
No.
Did you have any say in his planning last year? Because
not
he went
one bit.
Yeah.
Nor would I have any say in his future planning, nor do I want to have any say in his future. I tell you what I want to do. I want to get into my car. I want to drive it to the races. I want to put on my colours, get up in them, get off them, and go home.
Yeah.
There's no pressure. No pressure.
I need to have a chat with the Mooch there about Leopardstown.
The Mooch,
yeah. A bit of a slower pace now, by the way.
I don't know anything about training horses, and I used to pretend I did. Do you know what I mean? But at the end of the day, the trainer is training them, and that's it.
Did you breed a nice winner during the week? Is that?
Yeah, grand horse. Seems to be a grand horse. Yeah.
Davy's playing this down. This horse was actually a Kevin Kilbane tip that won during the week in Britain. Beat a half brother to relegate, who obviously won the champion bumper last year, and looks a very, very nice horse.
Which one was that?
Mam Trasna.
He's
a grand horse. Yeah.
My tips are not normally that good, I can assure you, honestly.
If like that's decent breeding, now this is a smashing horse.
Yeah, no, a lovely horse. Yeah, I'd say he'd be a grand horse. We sold him as a foal, and he had a nice first run, and then he obviously improved from that. I'd say he could be a horse to go on maybe and jump a hurdle in time.
What kick would you get out of breeding a horse that could be?
Oh yeah, great. Sure, we had the fortune of breeding a relation of his was Colonel Braxton, who was a very, very good race horse. He won a grade one.
Norman.
That's right. Yeah, for John Magner, and it's a long time since we kind of got a horse with that potential, but this horse starts going and winning a bumper now. It's nice, and it gives Dad a bit of a lift,
Davey, at some point, being the jockey obviously is something that comes to an end for everybody. Do you have an end point in sight? Do you have some reason to stop, or do you just want to keep going as long as you possibly can?
Oh, sure. As long as I keep fooling them away there, that I'm able to ride them, I'll keep going. I enjoy riding horses, and if it's tomorrow, it's tomorrow, and if it's in 5 years' time, it's in 5 years' time. But you need a good horse, you see. Do you know what I mean? That's what keeps you going. If you're going to be going around riding scrubbers at my age, that's not fun. But the fun goes out of it then, and I suppose it's the same with the likes of Nicky or any player. Like if you have a good team around you and you're winning, and you'll keep playing, and when you don't, the old fun goes out of it fairly fast, I'd imagine. But I'm having plenty of fun at the moment, anyway.
The thing is, it strikes me though that the thing that makes you a great jockey is experience and horsemanship, and it's not just the physical strength and the agility. Like, those things are obviously important to a certain degree, but mostly it's your ability to read a situation, know what's happening, and that's something that improves presumably the more you do it.
Yeah, unfortunately, for a national hunt jockey, your time kind of runs out by the time you realised what you should have been doing all along. It's nearly over, do you know what I mean? But I don't believe that. I think we're lucky that we have the likes of Jack Henley there in Paul Town and the likes of them around us there, that they're only going to get better in the next couple of years. Do you know what I mean? So they're very good at the moment. They're going to get better, and we just have this habit of creating good jockeys.
Do you feel like you're all part of the same club, or because you all have to slit each other's throats metaphorically in a race to win it and to try and get on it, so you're competing constantly, and yet on the outside we all think the Irish jockeys are doing great, and you're talking about those young lads like it's collegiate.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't like anybody to say anything about them now, to be honest. They wouldn't give an inch, or you wouldn't ask for one, so there's no point in expecting one. But at the same time, you must have a bit of respect for your colleagues, and look, I can beat them, and I know I'm capable of beating them, but at the same time, you'd be ending up in the back of an ambulance in a heartbeat. So there's no point in that's just the way it is.
Yeah, we've had a few instances in recent years, and I think it's great for racing. The point-to-point win at the weekend from the jaws of absolute defeat was probably one of the most watched racing clips on social media of all time. But we've also had clips of jockeys who are more or less had a shocker of a mistake at a fence, and somehow the jockey beside the other jockey has the kind of sense of mind to try to help that jockey back on the horse, at least that he won't fall. And Davy has been one of them as well, and I think that does wonders for the kind of good image of racing.
You kind of have to look after each other.
Oh God, you do, yeah. It's not. It wouldn't be much fun now when you're going at 35 mile an hour at 20 lads and they all want to choke each other. Do you know what I mean? You must have some bit of respect for your fellow man, but at the same time, when it comes maybe half or 3/4 of the race, from there on in, you're on your own. Really,
it'd be some crack if you were jumping the last, and he was kind of half thrown off the horse, and you're like, get him back up,
give him a push. But I don't know what it is. Look, come here. you know, we all go to each other's weddings and we all go to each other's funerals. You know what I mean? It's just the way it is.
Yeah. No, it's a community. We've been talking about that the whole way through, that we've been doing these shows on Fridays, Johnny, that there is a community out there that looks after each other and kind of understands that unless they work together, this thing's not going to get bigger and better.
Yeah, but isn't it the same with them GA teams? Like, I'm sure
it isn't. No, racing's a total cocoon in the sense of like it's basically you meet the same people over and over. Whereas if you play Gaelic games, like you train with your club or whatever, and you know you'll play against the opposition, and you might meet them here and then. But racing, if you go racing, like most days, you know the people who are there. And you know, I texted Pat Smullen before I came on the show just to ask him how he was keeping, and he's like, "Oh, I'm in great form." And you know, I said, "Will you come on the Off the Ball racing show soon?" He's like, "Oh yeah, absolutely, no problem." And the way racing rallied around him, and the way racing rallied around, you know, Jamie Codd when he lost his brother Willie, and this is only in the past year or so, you know, would make anyone be very proud to be involved in it. You know, they're all kind of. They're all fighting a war while they're at the races, but ultimately they're all great friends. And you know, when you go to a racing funeral, I remember, I think when Desi Hughes passed away, it's amazing the amount of racing people there, and they're all fighting for a win, but ultimately they're all fighting together.
Yeah, no, that definitely comes across as well. Davey, when you have a fall like the one you had today, the physical toll that it takes on you, how long is that taking you to recover from these days?
Sure. I don't know. I haven't broken a bone in a couple of months, but
I think it's unbelievable when you hear. We talk about injuries in GA and injuries in hurling and all, but when you listen to the way the jockeys, of unbelievable admiration for the way they just talk about broken bones and broken ribs and popped ribs and punctured lungs, like they're just like a common everyday cold. It's just unbelievable, really. The way they get on with it, a great attitude, really, to get on to the next horse.
We don't really need our bodies as much as the GA lads do, if you know what I mean. There's Dennis Welch rearranging your face.
It was my own fault, actually. See, I have my hurley turned the wrong way. It should have been turned a bit down like that.
This is 87-ish, is that
90, from? I'd say that's 1990.
Is it 90?
Yeah.
Cork did the double that year.
Why didn't you wear a helmet, actually?
It was probably just stupidity at the time. It was helmets really came in the 70s, the early 70s. And I suppose really we were kind of stupid in the sense that until it became mandatory, we were saying, well, sure, and particularly maybe if you wore a helmet, as I did, sometimes starting off, and you didn't play very well that day, then
blame it on the helmet.
You associated playing poorly with wearing a helmet, and then we were stupid really, because a lot of the injuries that occurred all through the time in hurling were eye injuries, really serious, and ultimately it was the eye surgeons in Limerick and Waterford hospitals who actually made the rule mandatory for a finish. They were the people who really drove the campaign to make helmets compulsory. And sure, look, nobody knows it any differently now, and it's
hard to imagine like that's not that long ago.
Yeah.
Well, they put the soft soccer boys to shame, don't they?
They do.
The jockeys and the GAA boys. Honest to God, we're a shambles, total shambles. Us boys.
I wouldn't like Mo Salah riding in the beginning days.
I don't want to sound like a jockey now, but interestingly, that looks a lot worse than it actually was, because it was.
You remember it?
I do. Well, it was only just a flesh thing, really. There was no. There was no break there or any damage, really.
What was the worst injury you got?
Again, it was my own fault, but I went when I started off in 1982. I went to block down someone. I really wasn't that experienced, and I just took the ball and I took the full force of the hurley straight up here, and it did a lot of damage, really, to be honest.
We're still here anyway.
The time he done the most damage was when he was cycling a bicycle with his wife.
Oh yeah.
And her shoe got caught in the spokes, and he was out over the front of it and made.
That's a fact. We were at a function. So Davy and I were at a function for Dr. Con Murphy, who's been the Cork doctor since 1976.
Yeah.
Last Saturday night, and so Dr. Con was my doctor since I was in UCC, and he's looked after me in hurling terms for a long time. But the first time he ever stitched me was when shortly after I met my new girlfriend, now wife, and we were cycling down a hill in Cork, and she was on the bar of the bike. You never see that anymore, obviously, either. And for whatever reason,
no helmets.
Her leg went back into we didn't wear helmets playing hurling. We were hardly going to wear them. So I went straight. I was catapulted out over onto the road, and so Dr. Conn fixed me up for the first time and not for the last time. So.
Head over heels.
Davey, you're from Youghal, is it?
Youghal, yeah.
Yeah, is that hurling country or football country?
Yeah, neither. Bill Cooper plays midfield there for Cork. He's a Youghal man, and Shamie Harnedy then is just out the road. He's St. Eata's. He should actually be playing for Youghal, but did an argument there a couple of years ago. And
that never happened to GA.
He went to school in Youghal, we'll put it that way, and then I suppose Klein is on the way up, and Imekilly then is the accumulation of them clubs together. They won the county final this year, so Middleton is neighbouring town, and you've
so it is hurling country though.
Connerlihan,
yeah, that's the.
And then, well, I suppose we've bought Conor Coonahan then is Ahada, which would be just up the road as well, like, you know, so we're lucky enough.
Shawnee Leary was.
Shawnee Leary, yeah.
We won't forget him in Tipperary too.
Used to be leaning up against the goalpost, waiting for the ball to come in. He might touch 3 balls in the game. He'd score 2-1.
Yeah.
He beat Tipperary in 1984. Was one of the famous.
That's right.
Before Tipperary hadn't won the Munster final for a long time. It looked like they had.
Tomás O'Leary's father.
All right.
They had won, and Shawnee Leary scored the last goal to win it for.
He was the first man to flick a ball, and he was always flicking balls.
When you look at his body shape relative to players now, Sean O'Leary was
Google
him. Sean O'Leary, who was Tomás O'Leary's father, the rugby player. So we're talking about
good
another
genes,
century.
Good genes there, though.
Yeah.
I do want to talk to you, Davey, a little bit about the state of the game at the moment in Ireland, because like when you look at the success that we've had in recent years, you've kind of been front and centre over the last 15 years as the sport has changed. Why do we get so good? Why was there so many horses that came along at the same time, and why are our jockeys the ones who are being successful at the moment? What do you put it down to?
Sure, I don't know. I suppose today it was a Galmoy hurdle, and when Galmoy won in Cheltenham, he was the only Irish winner we had. And then there was another year, Jim Bulger trained a winner, and we won the Fox Hunters. A lovely citizen, I can't remember the name of Clifton Fogg, was there one of them horses that won in Cheltenham. And they were the only 2 winners that Ireland had that year. And now if we don't have 14 or 15, it's kind of regarded as a bad year. I remember before that the president used to meet the connections of the horses after Cheltenham, that was such a thing. Now the president doesn't bother because there's probably too many people up there. But no, I suppose, look, the country itself changed really, and then
could you feel it happening as was happening? Did you kind of sense?
God, I could. Yeah, I was trying to sell a load of horses at the time. No, you could. I think Point to Points would have to have a big part to play in it, because they're obviously all along the good horses back along Florida Pearl, and I know he stayed in Ireland, but the likes of him, Best Mate, you know, and they showcased that the Point to Points could sell a Gold Cup horse, could sell a Champion Hurl, Imperial Call, and all them horses. And then
Michael O'Leary's been huge though, in the sense of like he's so many horses and they're in this country.
But Michael O'Leary, JP McManus, Philip Reynolds, the man breeding a mare blowing in Kerry, that's milking 40 cows. Do you know what I mean? It was always there, like. And I suppose what happened then, people always knew that we had the best horses, you know. So we were selling them to England for quite a number of years, and the best of them were being sold to England, and the ones that remained in this country then, you know, were the likes of Galmoy or Lovely Citizen, or the likes of maybe a horse off the flat or something, were good enough to go and compete in Cheltenham. And then I suppose there was a new crest of owner came along. Obviously JP was always there, and he was a huge supporter of Point to Points and up along anyway. And then the likes of Jigginstown came along, and I suppose when I started with Jigginstown they were quite small, and they grew, and as Jigginstown grew, there was an awful lot of owners came in a flourish there and the whole thing grew together. And then, kind of after a couple of years, it was just that we were back competing, and we were able to compete, and we always had the trainers and we always had the jockeys.
Yeah.
And it's a culture in Ireland, most farms when I was growing up, or most people, you went to a riding school or you had a pony at home. Do you know what I mean? You had a pony in England now was a different story. You went to Wembley or wherever, the show jumping. In Ireland, you had a pony, you went hunting, and I suppose there was a lot of flapping and pony racing, and that was a step forward. And then there was always jobs in racing.
Well, I was going to ask that. Did you know as a kid that you were going to be able to make a living in horse racing?
I couldn't care less if I was getting... I could tell you about the first job I had. I got £20 a week. I was 13 years of age, blowing Pilltown in Kilkenny, and I was sent away from home.
You left home, yeah?
Yeah, and I didn't care less. I couldn't. It never fazed me whatsoever. Frank O'Brien, Tony O'Brien, Kevin O'Brien's father, I went down there, lived with him, got £20 a week, and if he didn't give me the £20, it wouldn't make any difference once I was riding horses.
Was that like for you being scouted by Man United a little bit, like, this is your dream come true at 13, you've decided, you knew exactly what it was, and that was it from that point?
That was all I wanted. It was the money didn't matter. As long as I was riding horses, I didn't care. Or doing anything with horses.
It's mad though, isn't it? Well,
yeah.
Like as a 13-year-old, you make this decision, I'm going to go and do this, and then your life changes forever as a result of it.
That's right, yeah. And I went riding pint to pints. When I started riding now, I started riding pint to pints because, look, obviously I want to be a jockey, but I was never going to turn professional. I was never going to ride the winner of a Gold Cup or a Grand National. I was happy enough riding the winner of the Confined in Tallow. Do you know what I mean? And that's what I wanted, and that's what I got, and I was just lucky enough to get the opportunity to turn professional.
How did that change? What was that decision?
Sure, I didn't ever think it would happen because it was always a bit heavier, and I wouldn't have turned only for the man that I turned professional for. He had 120 horses and I got free rein to ride them all. And I worked on my weight and I got a bit lighter and things, and that's the only reason I turned professional, because I had a huge amount of horses to ride. Now, I wouldn't have turned professional if I had 5 or 10 horses to ride, but they're doing it now. There's young lads turning professional now, and it's a little bit worrying that there's no young lad that has a talent that can stay riding in Point of Pints for a number of years. It's just changed. The whole scenario has changed because at 16 they're turning professional and they're earning a living, and they're probably right, but at the same time maybe the quality of rider is suffering a little bit for it. They're probably not getting the grounding that we got as young lads, and a bit of hardship.
What you did with Ferdy Murphy's like pretty much unheard of nowadays. You took over to Ferdy with the background you had. That just doesn't happen anymore.
No, sure. Look, they're all turning there at kind of 16 and 17. It's just changed. It's just that's life changes and things change and you move and you go.
The only high profile change from amateur to pro in recent years was Rachael Blackmore. And like when Rachael went pro, like I remember being in the press room at race meetings and lads were like, "This girl can barely get a ride, not to mind a winner." As a pro, or as an amateur, and she's going pro, like, has she any idea what she's doing? She's an absolute nutcase, and now she's verging on being champion jockey in Ireland.
She's a nutcase anyway, no, but she wasn't such a nutcase turning professional.
Yeah,
she was, and a credit to her, but she has worked. And when I was an amateur turning professional, and I'd say it's the same maybe with the likes of Nicky, playing for your club and playing for your county, or playing for. In soccer, the same. When you're making it, I had to improve enormously.
What were you as a rider riding for Ferdy compared to what you're like now?
Tough. I'd make Ferdy Murphy champion trainer if I was riding. If I was able to ride the way I am now.
What age were you when you went to Ferdy?
22. I was probably 23 maybe.
And it was daunting as well because you were moving out, of what you knew. You were going to England and you had to get used to riding completely different tracks.
Absolutely. Yeah. I had no idea what I was letting myself in for, and I wasn't prepared for it. And it took me a lot of time to make the step from being an amateur to being a professional.
The lifestyle.
I thought the lifestyle was going to be different, to be honest. I didn't think I'd have to work half as hard, and I thought there'd be an awful lot more money, and there isn't. There's half the money and there's twice the work. Why
did you stick at it then when you found that out? What was the... Because that's the bit where...
I was gone at that stage, and I'd only one... I remember it, look, I was told... Some people told me not to turn and other people told me to turn, and one man said, look, you're a big fish in a small pond at the moment. He says, you turn professional, you're a small fish in a big pond. And sure, that was like a red bull to a red rag to a bull. And... I just wanted to prove a point. Sure, I wanted to prove a point. I wanted to ride. I was waking up every week riding winners after the other as an amateur. And I suddenly turned professional, and every day I went racing, I didn't ride a winner. I couldn't understand that. I just wasn't good enough, so I had to improve. You just had to get better, that was it. You got better or you went away. And
like this, the soccer player, Kev, that like you, that was like this underage starlet, and you go to the big club, and like of all the players that have gone from Ireland, maybe 98% whatever don't succeed, but Davy went over as this kind of like prodigy, and between the Jigginstown job, kind of getting that job, losing that, and between what happened with Ferdy Murphy, he's an amazing example of what you do when things go wrong. You either go on a downhill spiral, or you're like, well, what can I do to improve?
I wouldn't be half the rider I am now only for the Jigginstown job. That pushed me on through, and I wouldn't be half the rider I am now without Ferdy Murphy. So all them steps along the way, and I wouldn't be half the rider I am now without losing the job, or whatever you want to call it. I never really lost the job. I just...
Yeah, but you didn't lose the job because you didn't have sour grapes. Like, so if he was riding in Tremor on, was it New Year's Day, and I was there that day, and I remember... Like, he got a hell of a reception. I think he rode a double that day, and it was one of these, like, when I was working the racing post, you went to the gaff tracks, and a lot of the time you weren't fully invested in it because it was average enough racing. And Davey that day, I remember the reception he got, like, for a run-of-the-mill card. Everyone was backing him.
Track as well, you know what I mean?
And I always remember the story was told in the sense of Michael O'Leary. He asked me to go for a cup of tea, and that was the outcome. And a few years later there was a Q&A with Gordon Elliott in the paper, and obviously Gordon is like basically the mainstay of the Jigginstown operation, and he went up big time, my estimation, because it was like, what do you eat for breakfast, blah 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 blah, what's your biggest fear in racing, and he goes to be asked to go for a cup of tea.
What was Tremor like that day for you then, going home to your home track and having the warm embrace of your own people at a moment of difficulty?
Yeah, but I always had my family at home, and they were never going to go away, so unfortunately for them they had to stick by me. And look, I spent my childhood traipsing around the country at Point of Pints, and when you're involved in the game, people, and I don't think I ever really done anyone any harm along the way, so they were kind of, look, come here, life is full of its ups and downs, and laugh when you're supposed to laugh, and you cry when you're supposed to cry, and that was just the way life went. And I was lucky enough, like what Michael O'Leary has done for my career is phenomenal, like, absolutely phenomenal. Like, I wouldn't be half the rider I am. I'd say not many people would have the interest in listening to what I have to say without, and I just think that maybe you can be a little bit hard on them bigger organisations because of the size of them, but really at the end of the day, they're mighty men for our sport, and they're like say JP and all them people that invest. And I'm a little bit hard on the media are a small bit hard on them because they're taking the fun out of it a small bit for them, and I don't think they should. I think the media should just make it a little bit more enjoyable for them people, you know what I mean? Because
in what way? What are they doing? Is it criticism of them? And
not criticism of them, but it's criticism that maybe it looks like certain people are taking certain, trainers are training too many winners, and owners are having too many winners. And I tell you one thing, to be a lot worse if there was none of us training winners.
That's the mad dichotomy racing, because I remember Tony Mullins had a piece in the Irish Field where he was like, there's no way, like in handy, say in today's yesterday's 14 of the 18 runners were either trained by Gordon or Willie, which is not really a satisfactory situation for the grassroots. But Tony had a piece basically saying that there should be a cap on the amount of horses and any particular owner can run in a handicap, and it was quite high profile thing. And Tom Mullins basically had an article in the Irish Field quite recently where he also kind of had a go. And I remember there was a lot of acrimony at the time between the O'Learys and Tony Mullins for his comments. Racing is such that because you literally meet these people all the time. I was there in the parade ring today, and who was there laughing and joking to each other? Tony Mullins and Eddie O'Leary, and I was just like, this is a mad game. It's like these people were at each other's throats whatever it was a year and a half ago, and now they're below and Goran just having the crack before the Thyestes.
Yeah,
it's just there's no other sport that happens in.
Well, it is that balance that we talk about as well. If you didn't have those owners investing all that money, these horses wouldn't stay here, and the rising tide wouldn't lift all boats. So
Michael O'Leary has been insanely good for racing in this country.
And JP now as well, the likes of JP McManus and even Coolmore and John Magner and the input they've put into the game as well is huge. You know what I mean? And then but that trickles all the way back down to the man that's breeding with one mare that's able to produce a horse that can win a Gold Cup. Do you know what I mean? So everybody has their part to play in the sport, and it's great that to bring it down to earth fairly fast as well. Can
I ask you one thing about confidence? Because we're going to talk to Rachael Blackmore, and she had more winners before Christmas this year than she had at all the whole year. And I know Kev's talked about this before as well, that the difference between being successful and not successful in sport is having a bit of confidence in yourself and a bit of self-belief.
Yeah, I think it is. I think we've all probably experienced that before at various stages. John described me as a prodigy there. Not at all. It certainly was never that way for me as a kid coming through. And something that Davey touched on there, you get to a level. I got to Premier League football. You play in Sunderland, and all of a sudden, the reality hits you. It's like you've touched nothing. You play international football. You play in Premier League football. You're not even touching the sides. You've got such a long way to go when you reach that level, and you've got to go again. And that's what you're saying there, Davey. You're saying when you get that setback at Jigginstown, you get that, and it's about how you pick yourself up and what you're going to do to get yourself back up to the level that you're at and beyond it. Because that's the only way about looking forward. It quickly comes back to biting the balls. Sport does, without a doubt, it does. Yeah. The
other thing that Davey said there was that you get to the end of your career and you realise all the good stuff that you should have been doing at the start of it.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Yeah, you let the good times go by far too easily. You, in many respects, you can't really enjoy them because you're looking ahead. What's next? What's coming around? And sometimes you maybe even I would look back now and think sometimes wake up and smell the roses because there were so many great times that you didn't really appreciate at the time. Yeah.
Didn't the Tip lads have a good time every time they won though, Nicky? Wasn't that one of the things you were good at?
They never won back-to-back All-Irelands.
That's why we didn't win so often either. We only won twice in 15 years when I was playing. We have never retained the All-Ireland since 1964. So.
I've got a grudging respect for that, though. It means you absolutely do enjoy the absolute max of it.
Well, we certainly did enjoy it. I'm sure as the lads have said, there's ups and downs, and sure sometimes I've seen someone being quoted there recently. If you win, you can't really nowadays have the space to enjoy it so much. There's so much attention and so much media.
You because some fella has a camera shoved in your face.
Whereas we certainly never had that problem really. And lots of the time, if you lose, the people who are with you for the drink after when you lose, they're the people who really are your friends. As you go through life. So there's ups and downs everywhere. You're lucky to enjoy it. That's basically it.
A good wake's as good as a good wedding. The other thing that I wanted to just bring up there, what happens is that there's a rivalry now where at the end of Punchestown we're trying to see who's going to win the Trainers' Championship, and that is an interest that makes that end of season festival way more interesting for the common, the casual sports fan is like, am I going to pay attention to this? Am I going to just pay attention to this specific race? But the trainers' competition actually drives interest, I would say, in the sport as well. In the same way that the rivalry that you had with Galway, that was there wasn't much else going on in hurling in the late 80s if it hadn't been for the fact that Cyril Farrell was up against you guys.
Yeah, I suppose. Well, you had Galway and Tip just coming to the fore at the same time. We stopped Galway winning 3 in a row in '89, and we were probably unlucky to meet Galway at their prime as well. And then Cork actually came in pretty good at that time as well. But there were savage games really back between Tipperary and Galway, and because they were built up from the word go, you basically knew that somewhere down along the line Tip were going to play Galway to decide who was going to be the champion in those 3 or 4 years. And there was the same players marking the same players all the time. But it was fairly tough back that time.
There's definitely a parlance there that Gordon is trying to figure out, like, what can I do, because he really wants, like Kevin Keegan that time, he really wants to win the title, and it's just like he's been so close, and it's just like that motivation, like Kilkenny hurlers have driven the quality of hurling up so much. It's like we can moan about this, or we just have to strive to be better, and that's like ultimately what Gordon is trying to do. And the hunger that he has to be Willie Mullins is incredible, but he's not yet there, and he won't get there until he finds that dynamic to actually improve.
Tell you what nearly broke my heart was I was second in 5 championships, and the 1 year Ruby got injured, Paul Townend beat me. And that nearly broke my heart. But luckily enough, I won it afterwards. But
what did it mean to be champion jockey? Like, because
I should have meant everything really. But at the end of the day, like, you're only champion jockey for a day, really, like as such, because we start the day after.
You're back in Ballinrobe, whatever, you move on.
You go back to zero, and you have to start all over again. But look, you're maybe when I'm in an old fella inside in a pub somewhere and they're telling me grandkids that I was champion jockey, and something like that. But to get to the top of your sport, any sport, whether it's fucking tiddlywinks, if you're good at it and you get to the top of it, then you have to be satisfied. That gives you an awful lot of satisfaction. But it's just unfortunate that there's no point in being champion jockey. Well, there's every point of being champion jockey, but you must go and prove it again and again and again and again.
But it's like big race winners or champion jockey?
Oh, sure, winners, just winners in general, because I tell you, they'd put you down as quick as they put you up, and that's just life, and that's their sport, and I've no problem with that, but that's just the way it is. So once you can keep riding winners, you don't get the opportunity to be put down if as an ordinary rider, maybe, or a lucky rider or something like that.
Do you want to be champion jockey riding 80% kind of average horses, or do you want to have a nice career riding a lot of grade 1 horses?
No, I want both. I want everything. I'm very, very selfish, and that's genuine. I want to ride a whole load of winners, and I want to ride a whole load of good horses in between. But I suppose in this day and age now, we've such good horses in this country. For you to be riding a lot of winners, you have a great chance of coming across a good one as well. In England, the grade of racing is an awful lot lower. So you could go through the whole season in England and not come across a good horse and be, ride an awful lot of winners. Whereas in Ireland, if you're riding a number of winners, you're probably more than likely going to pop across in a good one, because the racing is so competitive. It takes a good horse to win races here. So you're going to pop across a decent horse somewhere along the line.
I don't think people appreciate that, how good Irish racing is. It's like we just accept it at this stage. Like, we might be world leaders in hurling, blah blah blah, but like our racing is so good. And granted, we've had help from governments going down the years and all that, but we should be very, very proud of that, because we are world leaders and we're punching way above our weight.
Yeah, I was looking through the winners at last year's Dublin Racing Festival, and there's some very impressive names that that in and of themselves on the day have beaten other really fabulous horses that we all kind of know, the ones that resonate with names. We'll talk a bit about that a little bit later on.
But Ireland is a special place that we can have a huge race course like Leopardstown in the middle of the of our capital city. And would you believe it's a little thing that's missing in Cork, that Mallow is just a little bit outside away, that it's a pity that there isn't. I feel there should be a second race course in Cork, and it should be closer to the city, because Leopardstown has that bit of an awe about it. When you drive up to Leopardstown as a young lad, maybe not so much now, but as a young lad, you're driving to the capital city to ride in races that, that's where you wanted to ride winners, was around Leopardstown.
You see all the dog tracks now. There's no dog track left in London, because like the real estate is just so much. To have a racetrack in Fox Rock.
That's
like
right.
people need to think about that. Like there was a racetrack in the
special
Phoenix
thing
Park.
now.
It's a special thing, and
It's a special
there was
thing,
a racetrack in the Phoenix Park, which would have been my local racetrack where I live now, and it's just a massive regret that that isn't there anymore. Because I can just imagine, you know, you're a Friday evening, you finish work, first race at the park is 6 o'clock, and
Good
you
out
go out
night.
there. Well,
It'd be good all night,
you
yeah.
go out there and you get back at 6 o'clock as well, like, you know, and you would have been just like, this would be a good night, like, you know. Yeah.
I don't know what you're implying there, Johnny.
But Dublin people in general are fantastic people to support racing. You know, they do travel around the country. Every race course you go to around the country, you always meet the Dubs. They're great people to travel around the country, and they have something special up here of their own. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're a real crowd pleaser on and off the track, ladies and gentlemen. Davey Russell. Playing the audience like a violin. Thanks a million, Davey. We're going to let Davey and Nicky go. We're going to let you guys have a little quick break, and we'll be back. We are here, of course, tonight with thanks to the Dublin Racing Festival, which takes place at Leopardstown Racecourse on Saturday the 2nd and Sunday the 3rd of February. Yeah, you can cheer that. 15 races, 8 Grade 1s, 1.8 million in prize money. You can book your tickets now at leopardstown.com. Thanks very much. Good evening. You're all very welcome back. It is the second part of our show. The third part of our show is where Johnny's going to try and break his duck. 6 successive weeks of dud tips on Friday night racing. I wouldn't mind, but it's for the injured jockeys. The poor injured jockeys can't catch a break. You break a leg, you break an ankle, and then Johnny tips the loser.
There was a guy at the Dogs, like a very, very strong gambler, and the word was like he was having a seriously bad run, and he's like he's lost 25 bets in a row, and he goes up the bookie, and the bookie's like, are you for real? You're going to punt me? And he goes, if you're down 25 bets in a row, what's 26? And that's basically where we're at right now.
That is exactly where we're at. So we'll get our tip for you in the third part of the show, which is going to be going through the card at the Dublin Racing Festival. And a reminder, we are tonight here with thanks to the Dublin Racing Festival taking place at Leopardstown Racecourse on Saturday the 2nd and Sunday the 3rd of February. 15 races, 8 Grade 1s, 1.8 million in prize money. You can get your tickets now at leopardstown.com. Two potential stars of the Dublin Racing Festival are our next two guests. They're having amazing seasons, both of them. Please give it up for Patrick Mullins and Rachael Blackmore. Patrick, good evening. Welcome. Rachael, thanks for coming. How are you?
Good.
So, we've been talking about the commitment that racing folk have. You guys were up like 5, 6 o'clock this morning, racing in Goran, and you're here tonight in Dublin with us. So that's like a nice, quiet afternoon for you guys.
5 or 6 o'clock is probably an exaggeration there.
Willie has it. We don't start riding out till 8, and Willie. It's because Willie reckons that the horse is like the lion.
Right.
So that's the secret.
Wow, that's pretty sweet.
Secret, yeah.
I have to apologise on air to you, Patrick, because tonight's a big night around Goran. It's your local track, and when you win the Tyassies, which most years you do, it tends to be a big party.
Yeah, it's sort of invitation only. Winning, it's our big local track, and usually there's a great party on in Clears and Goran. But I've nearly flight out tomorrow morning. I've flight at 6:30, so I said it might be safer to come up here and go home and get more sleep.
Now, I don't know if everybody knows this, but you two are flatmates.
Yeah, we are housemates, yeah. My boyfriend Brian Hayes owns the house, and Paddy...
Very, very, very quick to put that in there. And Patrick was kind of leaving the line like
and somehow
I know exactly what he's going to say here.
I pay rent and she doesn't. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
they're gonna breed a horse together, and it's going to be called Platonic. You know.
Wow. I didn't expect that. I was going to say...
That escalated quickly.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say... We had a Skype call with you on Friday Night Racing a couple of weeks ago, and I was going to say it's a nice kitchen, but I didn't know like when we've got the tour or not. When we have Kevin Kilbane on, we make him do a little tour of the house, but I don't know. Next time we're going to get you to,
well, they're brilliant to live with. Brian and Rachael, like, they get a cleaner in every 2 weeks, and they clean the house before the cleaner comes. I mean, they're complete neat freaks. So
it's not Brian, by the way. It's my boyfriend, Brian Hayes.
I can't believe I said that. Oh God.
Brian is actually going to be watching this. He's like,
I just have to be so clear because people always say that Paddy we live together, and yeah, just got to be clear.
That's fair enough.
It's when they go on holiday together that they get into real stuck. It's like, no, we're just jockeys.
I haven't been invited on holidays yet.
We're all about clarity in this show. I do want to talk to you, Rachael, about your current race to become champion jockey. Barbara said you're probably getting a bit bored of answering questions about this. It's like, oh, what's the story? But I mean, come on, it must be pretty amazing to be getting asked, like, you're in the running to be champion jockey. It's ridiculous. It's brilliant.
Yeah, like I'm still there in the shake-up, but I mean it's an unlikely event, to be honest. But it's just fantastic to be even for people to even utter that sentence at this stage, at any stage during the season. So,
what point did you think it might be realistic to aim for that as something that you could have as a goal at the end of the season? Like, because
I haven't reached that point yet, to be honest. Yeah.
Fair enough. Like last year, we were looking back at the stats. About 119 was the winning total. So there's loads of racing to be done. But like, do you allow yourself to daydream a little bit about it? Like when you're being driven around the country.
To be honest, it's not even something I've ever dreamt of. It's not even something I could ever. I never dreamt of being champion jockey. I still can't see that happening. I don't know whether that's a negative thing for a sports person not to be able to, see. But look, I'm just delighted to be in the position I'm in, and racing is very much a day-to-day thing. You just, you want to go day to day. You want to ride as many winners as you can on that day, and you're not looking too far ahead. Yeah, okay. The competition at the moment is with Paul Townend, which is a rivalry that dates back, is it a decade and a half at this point? We have this little clip, which is a home movie, which you're all going to see in Jump Girls, the documentary next week.
I was always surrounded by horses, did pony club and eventing, and kind of went down all those usual routes. My pony was quite fast, so we decided to run him in a pony race. So that was my first kind of taste into racing.
Tommy coming on the outside, but it's great dancing off, and Tommy coming all the time on the outside.
I actually ended up riding a winner on him, beating Paul Townend in nose.
Great dancing on the near side, Tommy on the far side. They're neck to neck to neck to neck. It's a desperately close thing.
That's one of my major highlights of my career, I think. Yeah, first winner beating a champion jockey of the future, so it was a great day.
Rachael, come here, just a quick word with you. Rachael Blackmore, you hail from where, Kinnan also?
Oh, yeah.
Talk us through that race there now.
Oh, it was brilliant. He so much left of him at the end. He went really well, and I couldn't believe it.
Is this your first winner?
Yeah.
Oh God.
Beating Paul Townend, that's class. It's brilliant to have that, isn't it?
Yeah, that was such a great day. I remember I went down racing with the Doyles. Jack Doyle would have been doing a lot of pony racing back then, and kind of family would have been friendly with Mary Doyle, and that's how we kind of went and did it, and it was unbelievable. Yeah.
That's quite a high, I presume, winning a race like that at that age. You're like, yeah, I want to be a jockey. That's it. I want to be a jockey, nothing else.
Yeah, I was kind of hooked on it after that, and it was funny. Like there was a lot of when you kind of go down to the pony racing down there, they didn't really know who we were we after coming from the north with this really fast pony, or what was kind of going on. But as soon as we won the race, like I think I got off and as we walked back in, didn't go to the winning post. The organisers knew fairly quick that we were. That we were definitely amateurs, and just we weren't coming in to take any of their
You weren't a ringer.
Yeah.
That's class. When did you get addicted to racing and riding and decide,
Still thinking about Brian Hayes.
It's taking a funny turn.
Like you didn't have much choice, I guess. But
look, the whole family is into it. But I know I only did one pony race, and myself and Emma went down to a local pony race down in Thomastown, and I brought my Palomino mare down. Emma brought his half thoroughbred, Duncan and Hustle. So the O'Farrells were there, and we thought this was great crack anyway. So we down to start, jumped off, rode a finish, straight to finish. Emma won, and I finished second, delighted. Started pulling up. Next thing, the crowd started shouting us, "There's another lap! There's another lap!" So of course we go on, and Emmett still won. I finished fourth, so he still reminds me to this day. But I wasn't quite didn't have a good record like Rachael. So, but no, all our life. It's not that it got forced into us, but it's all we did.
Yeah, but the bit that you enjoy the most has to be riding winners. And like, when do you realise that that's the aspect of this that is going to be the one that you follow
the most?
Winning, sure, like anyone, any competitor, winning is the kick, and as big a thing is when you get beat. Like, the day that getting beat doesn't hurt, it probably doesn't matter, and that's as big a spur on as winning. Just not getting beat, like not getting Nina Carby or Jamie Codd coming and nailing you on the line. There's just nothing worse.
How would you compare winning to riding Duggan at Cheltenham in March last March when you're riding in the championships?
Well, so that's
obviously up to the point of obviously the fall, but just the thrill you got out of riding him.
Yeah, I'd been lucky enough to ride him before in Leopardstown, and he'd won when Paul got injured in the first race. And same thing again. I'd actually prepared myself for going to Cheltenham. I prepared myself for riding him. I just said, this could happen. I've seen people get injured before.
No way.
And I'm sure you have to think ahead,
yeah.
And I remember we were one year in Cheltenham. There was 3 or 4 jockey changes. So Dave Casey and Briar Hill that year, I nearly got to ride on his own. But anyway, I had it in my head. So, but I obviously
got to ride in the Gold Cup.
Well, Ruby got injured in the Triumph of Abbey Seal, and then David got a fall on Briar Hill, and suddenly I was going to ride on his own, and I didn't, but I just had that in the back of my head, and I said, I'm going to be prepared for this. So I had a plan in my head. I only got the colours just literally the race before. Got a quick chat with Ruby, who's lying there with a broken leg, and trying to
how are you anyway?
Wake up. So the last thing I heard as I was walking out, the Channel 4 on in the TV, which they did catch me streaking across it one day on live feed, which wasn't ideal, but it's a chilly place in there. And but the last thing I heard as I was walking out, in the zone, was Matt Chapman going, and Duvan drifting like a barge.
Filled you with confidence. I'll show them.
Fair enough, Matt. Yeah. So, but look, it was amazing. With down the start, I was going down the start thinking it doesn't get any better than this. And like the first time I rode him, I just said, "This is the best horse in the race. All I have to do is scoot him around. Like, it's not even a race." At the time when the horse fell, I thought, yes, I was going to win. Sure, it's a mile from home. And looking back on it,
the finishing kick that he has as well.
Altior, is obviously, he finishes very strong. Altior could be as good a horse you ever saw. But at the time, it's like, I've ridden some very good horses. I've looked at ride Faheen, I've looked at ride Annie Power, Under So, Sharjah, Wicklow Brave. But when your man's in full flight, he's a different species. And it's so frustrating that he hasn't been able to prove that it's, he's won the novice races. They don't really count. It's like winning the minor. He hasn't been able to win his All-Ireland, and we know the ability he has. And look, he made a mistake. He fell. He hadn't ran in a year. It was like throwing a fella into a World Cup final. You're going to make a mistake somewhere, and he did. But thank God he got up, and that was my main thing. When I fell, because he landed on his head, he didn't get a foot out or anything. He landed on his head. And I thought he's in trouble. But when I got up and saw him, that was fine.
The amount of emotions you must go through, from the thrill, split second later you're on the ground and one of your favourite horses could be badly injured or even worse, and you're and you were trying to get over the fall at 40 miles an hour, and you're like, well,
yeah,
what happened there?
Yeah, well, first of all, the ambulance and the vet both missed me, so I ended up having to walk him home, because in England you can't get your butt back up in them, so I was a bit tick over that, walking back on my horse. But no, I remember thinking, and you get experience of this when you suffer defeats and you suffer, things going arseways. You have to just keep the focus. And I knew I had a ride later on the day. I had 2 rides the next 2 days, and so I just put it aside, and it didn't bother me. But when I came home and watched the replay, then it sunk in. But I think it's like, I suppose, you're getting a foul in a match or something. You have to put it aside in the middle. It was Wednesday at Cheltenham, which is a 4-day festival, so you can't be thinking about it the next day or the day after. So, yeah. Does that answer the question? Was there a question?
What was the question?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. Rachael, will you talk to us a little bit about what has been a breakout season for you? What's the difference this year from last year, and what level of confidence you must have at the moment?
So the biggest difference is just my link up, I suppose, with Henry de Bromhead at the start of the summer. It's all about getting into the right yard at the right time, and that just happened for me this summer. His horses were flying, and you need to be on the right horses to be finishing in front.
How does that come about? So that obviously is in the works for a little while. There's conversations going on, and you're like, yeah, that sounds like
I think Eddie O'Leary mentioned to Henry that would he try using me maybe for some of their runners down there, and Henry went for it, and I was very grateful for that, yeah.
I don't know if you heard the bit a little bit earlier on where your name came up when they were talking about the decision to go pro 3 years ago. What was behind that decision? Because obviously you believed in yourself at that stage that something like this might happen for you in the future, but there must be a bit of confidence and a strain of madness at the same time to go, yeah, actually, you know what, I am going to give this a go.
The main thing for me was I had nothing to lose. I had an amateur career that was not really a career, and the yard I was in was there to back me. And you know, you need support in this game. And you know, for me my weight is very good, so a lot easier for me as a 7-pound claimer back then to get a ride in a handicap of 9-10 than, you know, expect someone to put me up in a 4-year-old maiden. Point of pointing, so you know, it was just something that worked out for me. And
was it obvious to you at the time that this was the right thing to do, or was there a little bit of soul searching?
Absolutely not. Like, plenty of people told me it mightn't be the right thing to do, but like I had a Shark Hanlon telling me, look, I'll support you, I'll give you rides. So you know, I had nothing to lose.
And I think you know what a lot of people maybe don't realise, a bit like, you know, an overnight success. Like, I mean, I've known Rachael since she was kind of 19, 20, and it took her 6 years to get to the point where she started getting good, you know, like just that time.
As you can see from my flapping video, I was not natural. But like, it's so true. Like, when you look at Paul beside me, like he looks like, if you put him into a bumper the very next day after that race, like, he wouldn't have looked out of place. Whereas I was absolutely horrendous, like, in every shape and form. You know what I mean? And it took me such a long time to get my act together, and it's only now starting to click into place, you know.
Did you model yourself on anyone, or was it did you just improve the experience?
Just trying to model myself on not looking like I did back then, I suppose. Yeah.
How are you getting on?
But the thing is, for anyone who's trying to be a jockey, you know, you see some of the lads after a year or 2 years, they just lose interest. But it might take 4 or 5 years. And it's probably the same with other sports. It might take 4 years for you to get the chance.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and I was just lucky. I got that chance, and
I don't think you were lucky. I think it was hard work. I think that,
yeah,
like,
but there's
a bit of luck maybe in certain races, but
yeah, but I like
70
this
winners
summer I've
isn't
been
luck.
seriously lucky with getting into a yard where the horses are flying. You know, it could have easily been his horses weren't.
But you had to be
so
ready
well,
for that opportunity when it came along, and that's the thing. I think, like, from that moment forward, is that what you wanted to be? Did you want to be
No, never. Didn't want to be a jockey. Definitely knew I wanted to be an amateur jockey and ride in races and so on. Wanted to be a vet. Terrible leaving cert. Horrendous in school. That was never going to be an option. But I always wanted to be a jockey, but I never envisaged myself being able to make a career out of being a jockey. You know, it wasn't until I was.
How did that change? Yeah.
It actually wasn't until I was 26, and Shark Hanlon said to me, you know, why don't you turn professional, and I'll try it, and it worked. And you know,
if Shark hadn't said that to you, where would you be now?
I think your boyfriend Brian had a big say in that as well, didn't he?
He had a.
Are you going out with a guy called Brian?
He had a massive say in it, but I didn't want to bring him up again. So.
We have Brian on the line.
Yeah. So.
But if Shark hadn't said that, would you? Because your amateur career was plodding along, really going nowhere.
Yeah, like Brian had said to me too. You know, you're a 7-pound claimer who, you know, you can claim off those light weights. You know, why don't you give this a try? And you know, it was just that a girl had never gone down that road before for their own circumstances. You know, Nina and Katie never needed to. You know, Cheltenham winners, Irish national winners, they were, you know, beating Paddy left, right, and centre in bumpers. So that they never needed to. They never needed to do that.
But you were a pioneer in the sense that there were very, very few female professional riders, flat or jumps, and there still are.
Yeah, I don't know.
It shouldn't be like. How many winners did you ride as an amateur?
7 on the track, 11 point of points.
And how many winners have you ridden as a pro? Couldn't count it.
More than that. Yeah.
70 something this year, is that right?
72 on over jumps this year. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not bad. Come on.
Here, take a bow.
Huh?
Here, take a bow.
And she's ridden. I remember being at Tipperary for one of the meetings during the summer, and she rode a gambled on winner for this man's father on the flat, and then she won the big hurdle race the same day. And I was just like, this is absolutely extraordinary, and stuff like that should be on the news that night, that somebody can do that. Not to mind that she's a pioneer in terms of female jockeys, that she's mixing flat and jumps and riding 5 furlong race in Dundalk and then riding a 3 mile chase the following day.
That's incredible for a jockey, full stop.
Exactly. And I think like racing is one of those rare sports where gender is becoming completely irrelevant. Like.
Well, it's the only sport where men and women race on equal footing. It's like
the one thing I will take her up on was that when the French brought in the rule about a female allowance, I remember saying it to you, and you're like, I would take anything going that would help me. And I was just like, I don't want this to come in at all, because I think it's almost saying like you're inferior, and I don't think you are.
Sure, you're saying like I spent most of my life chasing Nina and Katie around the bumpers, and so why would you give them an extra £4? Like, no.
Kind of what I think what I meant was if they want to give it to me, like, I'm going to take it. I'm not going to be like, I don't want your £4. And then, you know what I mean? I'm going to take it. Like.
That's definitely how it works. You got to take whatever's going. In terms of the Dublin Racing Festival, we're going to talk to you guys both a little bit later on about this. But anything in particular, Rachael, that you're looking forward to?
It's very early for me to say what I'll be riding. I'm not sure. But it's a fantastic 2 days. Really looking forward to it. High class racing. So I hope I'm there first of all for most of it. And it's hard to pin down anything.
Okay, how far out do you kind of know what you are going to be riding on? Earlier on we were asking Davey what his involvement is. He's like, drive there, get on the horse, get off the horse, go home. How much conversation do you have with trainers about what's coming up?
You get a feed off trainers, but you're not marching in and asking them, what am I riding at the weekend? You know what I mean? Like I've a really good agent. Yeah, a really good agent in Gary Cribben, and he does a lot of that work and that side of it for me. So technically you don't know 100% what you're riding until after 12 o'clock on a Friday when the declarations are done for the weekend.
Yeah, so you just got to stay in the moment and make sure you're ready no matter what happens.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
How important is your agent?
Oh, massive. Yeah, really important. It's 10:30 there, declarations are out for the following day, or entries are out at 12 and you're riding out somewhere. You can't be on your phone trying to get yourself rised and get yourself sorted, and he's a really good man to have on your side.
How long are you with him?
With him since I turned, yeah.
So he's seen the whole almost rags to riches story, like.
He's been a massive role in it anyway, yeah.
All right, let's go down to the crowd. Emma Doyle is in the crowd, who won her debut race at Dundalk on the 4th of January. That's probably worth a round of applause too.
Go on, Emma. Woo!
How are you getting on, Emma? How are you doing?
I'm really good, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, tell us a little bit about that race. So, when do you know that? Because it's a family horse, is that right? So you've kind of been targeting it for a while, I guess.
Yeah. I hadn't been particularly now, because I actually only got my licence the day before I rode. I was actually third choice jockey that day. Dad just couldn't get anyone else to do the lightweight. So I think it was like 11 o'clock, and he went to look and my name wasn't on the registered list of jockeys to ride. But he made a quick call to the turf club, and I made it down for 12 anyway.
Oh, so the race was at 12?
No. Just you have to have
the day before
down as
to
a
get
jockey.
Your license.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. And so you know at that point then that you're going to be riding, and what's that build up to that race like? Because this is your first race as a registered jockey.
Yeah, I guess it was actually a good way that it worked out that I only knew that close beforehand. I didn't have too long to worry about it and stress myself out really. I also had like a few pounds to lose to get down to A3, but that kind of took my mind off it.
All right, so then the Dundalk, and how long is the race?
It was a mile.
Okay, right. So how does the actual race go? A mile at Dundalk. I'm only learning about this because Johnny keeps telling me, this horse is definitely going to win, and then he doesn't. But I understand a mile in Dundalk, it doesn't actually matter that much where you're drawn because you have enough time to make up for any difficulties.
It actually does matter.
Now he tells me.
Yeah, a mile is not as relevant as because I was actually involved in a horse that ran in that race, and
is this our race?
Possibly. It was the third horse I've been involved in that was well fancied in a race that Northern Surprise actually won, and they were all at Dundalk, and our horse was drawn high that night, and it didn't exactly help him. But Emma was absolutely superb on the winner, and it just looked like she'd been there for some time. And it was a great.
She looked much better than Rachael in her first winner.
Yeah, she did. I would say Emma was more precocious maybe than Rachael.
Yeah.
I think our after race interviews were very similar though. That's how I felt afterwards.
Well, it must be ridiculous. It's like, because it's not just you riding a random horse, it's a family horse as well. So that's like, it's amazing.
Yeah, like I've known him his whole life. We've had him since he was a 2-year-old. He's 8 now. I know him inside out. I've led him up every day he's ran. So that made it extra special, I think.
And they're just such a nice family. Like, it was like you could not begrudge. Like, her dad is like just one of these guys you meet in racing, always has a smile on his face, and racing you take the good with the bad. And they were just like they're just a lovely family to be associated with.
How far out do you know you're going to win? Like, is it close or is it
I knew when Rory Cleary said well done when I passed the line.
Nice.
I had turning in, I was like, God, I still have a lot here, like he's still under me. But the whole way up the straight I was just like, we're still going. I didn't know if I was going to get there, because I saw the two were going to go by clear of me, but I was just very lucky.
He also, like, he wasn't like all that well fancied, so you probably had a sense of like, I can ride him just to finish his race, and if he wins it's a bonus. But it was just like, he hadn't won in some time.
Yeah, he hadn't won in 3 years. Like, I knew going out that he was well capable. He hadn't lost any form at home. He's just after falling out of love with the game a bit. But
if you ride a horse that was 16-20 to 1, that is an 8 year, he's like, if you can get 5 good years out of a horse, that's good. So he's 6-7 years on the go. It's your first ever ride. He's 16-20 to 1, and it wins. Like, that is pretty remarkable.
Yeah, it's class. It's absolutely class. So, like, what happens for you now? Your ambition level can be whatever it wants to be in racing, right?
Yeah, I guess I'm just taking it one ride at a time. I've had 2 rides since, and one went well, one not so well. So we just got to see how it goes. Hopefully, I'll just keep improving. I know I have to get a lot stronger and all that, but I hope I can just stay at it for as long as I'm enjoying it.
Does the likes of Rachael kind of prove like something of an ambassador for the likes of you?
Oh, 100%. If it wasn't for Rachael, I don't think a lot of girls would be getting into racing now. I was actually so fortunate she was there on the night I was riding. She was great to me. She put my cap on my helmet and everything.
I was like her valet. I had to tuck her in properly, because anytime anyone has their first ride, what happens is your colours come out, and like nobody tells you on your first ride, make sure you pull your colours down so they won't come out. So I did that for her.
Yeah, I was well prepped.
That's class. Emma, congratulations. That's a great story. When you said one went well, did you win a second race?
No, I was 3rd.
All right, so you've got a 33% winning record. That's not bad. If you can maintain that for the rest of your life, we're going to hear a lot more about you. Emma, congratulations and well done.
Thank you.
I know, Rachael, you were kind of like, we're talking about gender, and it's like very boring that it always comes up. But when you hear a story like that, you actually realise that you're making a difference, even if you don't want to be making a difference, or like, it's important.
Yeah, look, when I started, Nina and Katie were the prevalent ones in the weigh room. I walked into a weigh room where there was no issue made about gender, so that's just what I followed on to.
Yeah.
And look, it was a fantastic night for Emma in Dundalk. She'll actually take her a while. It'll be next year when she looks back on it. When she gets a real taste of how disappointing racing can be. But it was a fantastic night, and like she rode so well and was so professional about herself for having her first ride.
Yeah, it's great in racing that it's not even really talked about that much anymore. It's like, if 1 in 7 winners at Cheltenham last season was ridden by a female rider, one of whom actually basically broke her collarbone and rode a finish and won the race. And it's just like, well, that's just how it is anymore. And I think it's 50-50 basically in terms of staff, and down the line, because weights are going to stop a lot of male riders riding, because they're not going to be able to do the weight. I think the percentage of female riders is going to go way up in the next few years. Yeah. And it's Jessica Harrington, what was she, like 70-71 when she had her first Gold Cup runner, which won. She had her first winner in the Irish National that year. And this 70-71 year old, whatever she was, I remember her at Cheltenham because she had her arm in a cast because she'd had a fall skiing. And I'm just like, I don't really care what your gender is. You're amazing. Like,
yeah,
it's just
she's
like,
going to be
that's-
training winners at
that's
100s.
just- Yeah, that's just racing.
I think the gender thing is gone. I think too much is made of it. Like Rachel's doing what she's doing. Bryony Frost is riding Grade 1 winners. Lizzie Kelly's riding Cheltenham winners. Nina and Katie being done everything. You have Josephine Gordon on the flat. Natalie Desute in France. I don't think it's a thing anymore.
And I hope you're dead right, and I hope that it continues. I want to show you some pictures, Patrick.
Christ.
Yeah, what the hell's going on here? That's you in
He
football.
just does this for attention.
Is that it?
Just for attention.
But so these are hurdles, right?
They
Correct?
are, yeah.
And you're jumping. You're jumping
8
hurdles.
furlongs in a mile.
There you go. And it's not just once. They're different socks.
What shorts you
I
wear?
haven't. It's Man United ones, but I had Barcelona ones before. I went over to the El Clasico match, which was brilliant.
Did you get the photographer to just say, like, just be 5 yards away from the hurdle, and just as my muscles are shown properly as I jump it, just then take the photo?
Yeah, I run the track before the racing every day, just to see the ground, because I'm in the bumper, so obviously there's been a few races on it, so you can see where the ground's cut up, where it's not cut up, so you can get a fresh strip, which is sometimes why you see me going quite wide. And then I also like to. You lose a half pound or a pound, and it just keeps me fit. I used to run a lot as a kid, did the community games and all that.
What's with the schooling? Just kind of see how you're jumping.
It's just a bit of interest, yeah. Although it's a sign I think I have to give it up now because my left knee is giving me trouble. It's a sign of getting old, I think.
Yeah. And you're 29, I think.
29, yeah. 29,
Wait till you're 30. I think we vaguely remember her.
Johnny. So, how much longer will you do this? Are you also like you do it as long as you possibly can?
Well, look, my father rode. He was 40. I mean, it's incredible. When he was 40, he rode the bumper winner in Cheltenham. So it's like Gordon Elliott, who's 40 now, riding the bumper winner in Cheltenham.
What was the name of the horse?
Well, maybe not exactly like Gordon Elliott now winning Cheltenham. But like,
when I said Gordon Elliott, I meant
But the horse is called Wither a Witch, and he's still at home in the field. He's 20. He was 5'96", so he's 22 now, 27. I know. I did past maths, and it's actually a great story. So he bought the horse. He'd had one winner in Cheltenham Tour Traction in '95. He bought this horse at the sales for small money. He won a bumper at Leopardstown at Christmas. He won 20 lengths, and up until then, Willie had always sold horses. He'd always sold horses to England. That was what he did back then. So he decided this was the horse he was going to be a trainer and not a trader. And he kept, I think he might have kept a leg of the horse, sold the rest of the horse for less money than he could have if he sold him to England. Kept the ride on the horse then in Cheltenham instead of letting Richard the Muddy ride him. The plan was to make the running, and he missed the start, which was a good start. And but the horse still won. And off the back of that, he got Archie Leary to buy Florida Pearl, and.
Right.
So without Wither a Witch, the whole story would be a lot different.
It's mad the aging process. I think Ruby is 39 maybe. Yeah. So Ruby has been, whether he's been selective or Willie's been selective, Ruby hasn't ridden that much, certainly over fences this season. And when he won the Thyestes today, he gave the horse a big hug after the race, and it was this real moment where it's like, this guy knows that he is getting on, and these moments are actually just mean so much to him. And then when he won the beginner's chase in Silius Emery, Patrick McCann of the Racing Post just captured this beautiful moment where he kind of just he looked over, and as he was getting off the horse, he's just like, I remember this feeling.
Ruby's like a kid, isn't he? Like in the gallops in the morning, Ruby's like he's 18 again. Like he just has that enthusiasm. He just loves the game, like.
Because he knows that he probably doesn't have that long left, maybe a few years.
Maybe, but he just loves the game anyway. Like
his enthusiasm for it is unbelievable.
He just has that fire.
He was coming back from injury one day. I think it was his first morning back riding out, and he was like a kid at Christmas. Like he was riding a bit of work, and like he just hadn't, ridden a bit of work in a long time, and he was genuinely buzzing after.
Sometimes if he wasn't Ruby Walsh, she'd be like,
a dose bag.
Shut up, will you?
Racing's the only sport where you break your leg and you rush to come back for Cheltenham, you do well, and the following day you break your leg again, and people just go,
that's it. Yeah,
grand. Yeah, when are you back?
Yeah, but also the riding out thing is like there's I mean, there are superstars in your sport, but there's no prima donnas. Everybody comes and rides out and works the horses. And
I'd say if there were like a prima donna in the weighing room, like he would be so ostracised by the rest of them, just like, get over yourself. Like, it doesn't work in this game. Like.
Yeah, okay. We're going to go through the card in just a couple of minutes' time, but we are here tonight, of course, with thanks to the Dublin Racing Festival taking place at Leopardstown Racecourse on Saturday the 2nd and Sunday the 3rd of February. It's going to be 15 races, 8 Grade 1s and 1.8 million in prize money. You can book your tickets now at leopardstown.com. And I meant to say earlier, thanks to our friends in Touchline Productions for giving us the clip from... who found the clip of the pony race? Is it, do you have it in the house? Or?
My mum had it on a video for... she got it put onto a DVD a while ago, yeah.
So. Are there loads more of those that you can stick up on YouTube? And
no, there's only one. That's the only way you've seen it all.
Well, listen, congratulations. It's been a brilliant season so far for Rachael Blackmore. Best of luck with everything. Patrick's going to stay with us as we go through the card and pick some winners. John Duggan is standing by as well. We're going to be right back after these. This is the moment you've all been waiting for. We're about to pick some winners. No, come on, that's bullshit. That's bullshit.
Why is Johnny here?
Why is Johnny here? Stick Patrick's mic up there. He's just had the best line of the night. We're about to pick some winners. That's more like it. All right, we are here tonight.
Do you want me to leave now, or? No.
Yeah, well, that would be good. I mean, I see who your tip is, Johnny. I know what you're doing. We'll get to that in just a minute. Okay, so we are here to go through the card for the Dublin Racing Festival. 2 amazing days of racing. Davey, we were just chatting there. You were saying that this was a big success last year.
It was, and I suppose, look, you could have been worried it might look like it was going to be close enough to the Cheltenham Festival, but this has taken on its own identity, and obviously, look, again, this year it is supported with the cream de crop really, and I see there's a couple of very talented English horses coming over as well, which is great.
Yeah, that's a good sign when you start seeing the prize money is enough to tempt the English horses, because that's what we want to see. We want to see that rivalry established on Irish soil and see where we can what we can glean from that, right?
Yeah, that's right. I suppose the English, the prize money would be a long way behind us, but I thought maybe they would send more horses over, but there is talks of a couple of very talented English horses to come over.
They're missing a trick there, because obviously Brexit is in the news the whole time, but the Brexit has meant that the pound is in a situation where you come over and you win 70 grand in Ireland. That's basically 60 grand sterling, so it's way better prize money than they get. They run the Tolworth hurdle over there for 25 grand. It's a grade 1, and I think English trainers, I don't know why they're not sending more horses over to Dublin. It's not a long boat ride. We send horses over to Wolverhampton, bad horses every day of the week. It's again,
that's your own horses you're talking about.
Have you got experience of that, John?
Yeah.
And I've been to Wolverhampton. Have you been to Wolverhampton?
Oh, several times, yeah.
Yeah. It's an experience.
Until they don't take your wife and whatever you do. Bear you want her murdered.
Have you been to Wolverhampton, Davy?
I have, would you believe?
John Duggan joins us for the first time this evening. John, good evening to you.
Thanks, Chair. Everybody, how are you doing? All good? Well, at least you know who I am, anyway. So I can't wait for the Leopardstown Racing Festival. Thought it was brilliant last year. It's my local track. My first winner at Leopardstown was 7th of March 1999, Rockets Castle 14-1. Probably the last winner I tipped her hat.
It wasn't, because you said, and you distinctly said at Christmas, when punters had the biggest bloodbath of all time, and I came in and I was basically coming back from Vietnam, and you were like, I had a great Christmas. I was like, did you?
Yeah.
And you did.
Yeah, and you've been looking at me in a kind of sour way ever since.
More so.
Yeah, so Christmas was kind of... I was kind of gallivanting and hanging off chandeliers for a few weeks before Christmas. So Stephen's Day was spent all day in bed. Didn't do anything but watch racing and lost my shirt. The second day, went to Leopardstown, had a free bar, and then kind of broke even. And then I ended up in another free bar and turned into a neon light, effectively. The third day, I was at a very solemn occasion, and I'm not trying to make fun of it, but I got a tip for the horse called the Church Gate. Disappeared out of the solemn occasion, listened to the commentary, and it won at 10-1. Went back into the solemn occasion, tried to keep my expression the same. And then the last day, I had a Clash of the Titans of Gavin Cromwell, and I was moonwalking up at the premium level after he came in, and Gavin Cromwell then actually accosted me. Not moonwalking, it was a bit after that, but it was quite a good week. So sorry, Johnny, for your troubles.
I also love the fact that you spent the day in bed but lost your shirt.
Yeah, okay. I probably shouldn't elaborate, but no, I didn't have any company. But
have you found the shirt? Has JD found his shirt?
Who are you? One thing I noticed was a couple of things. I bought the Irish Field the week before Leopardstown, and I think it's worth you guys, if you're a punter or whatever, or just to read about the horses. There was an interview about, I think, a horse called Rocky Blue won the juvenile hurdle on the first day, interview with its owner, and I read Gavin Cromwell's interview. So, okay. You like the colours. And then Gavin Cromwell had an interview and actually said, well, we probably aim Clash of the Titans at one of the handicap hurdles, and I think locals own or whatever, so might have a chance. So, I always think it's really important to, I know at Leopardstown they do this great thing called the morning line or the winning line, where they've got a panel, and I think it's really important to the day, but just to try and follow what the trainers are saying, what they think of the ground, how they think their horses are set up for it, and then that'll give you a bit of an edge regarding your investment of the day.
Yeah, because Davey, we had you on. I think it was after the Grand National last year, after Cheltenham, and you were saying that there's not enough analysis of the races. It's always just about the prices, and that you would like more of the conversation to be about how horses are going, and just for the conversation to change a little bit from what the money says to what the people who know horses say.
Yeah, I suppose. We'll say at the moment now, they all watch the market, and if the market says it's not fancied, then they say the professionals say it's not fancied, but that's not always the case, and it's I don't know why that is, it's just somebody somewhere seems to know something about something, and then it just builds and builds and builds. But I think, Kevin, you said to me today, why was presenting Percy such a good price, and I don't know. The trainer had no worry.
Did you fancy it so strong before the race?
Well, not necessarily. I'd be a bit of a pessimist, but I will say he won his first run every year, so that wasn't a huge worry. But his first run the past couple of years wouldn't have been in such a competitive race. So, then there was that aspect of it. But I hadn't sat in the horse, I don't know. But the race he won last year, this year's race looked a little bit more competitive on paper. And but when I got to the races, Pat said, geez, we're really happy with him. He's in great order. And if I had in my head to say he's drifting in price, then he mustn't have any chance. Then I wouldn't, it would affect.
Do you know the price?
I couldn't care if he was 100. Honest to God.
I think you said the only time you'd know if a Charles Burns horse were fancied was if you were in Thurles and you walked out from the weighing room.
Yeah, that's right. You might see, but again, you might look up at the board or something. But that doesn't.
Would you know about it?
It makes no difference.
All of mine are fucking not on now, so.
Yeah, rightly or wrongly. Yeah. But it's mad, if you could have a horse that like Mam Trasna was 6-4 out to 4-1 the other day.
They just said, we were watching, and
I couldn't explain.
I was only watching because obviously we bred him, and then all of a sudden you see the Trevor Hemmings horse go from 3 or 4 to 1 into favourite, and the horse we bred going out, and you're saying, jeez, we're in trouble here.
New relationship with Trevor Hemmings.
He's Preston's chairman, Preston North End's chairman, so I know Trevor quite well,
And Daniel MacDonald was actually texting me and saying, oh God, there's a load of money for the Hemmings horse, can you drop him a text? And I was like, he probably has other things to be doing,
But I would watch the market for a bumper now to see what's fancied. Especially in a bumper, because if a horse is 20 to 1, he gets back into 6 to 1.
Form as such to go on,
yes,
then
no
it's
form.
a little bit different, we'll say, from the likes of presenting Percy, because if that price is drift, we'll say if he's negative in the market, you're saying, he's either got a bad scope, or so, you know what I mean?
Well, you know the form, whereas in a bumper,
you're looking. The market is a big teller.
Keep an eye on the market.
If a horse went 10 lengths clear, you'd prefer to know if he was 100 to 1 or even money.
Well, that's it. If a horse that you might on paper is trained by someone who doesn't usually win bumpers or whatever, but if it's been backed, then you're just going to sit 2 or 3 times closer to it, or you're going to.
Well, you're going to be aware of it, anyway.
Aware of it, exactly.
Yeah. That's one of the most beautiful things about watching racing, when a horse goes way out in front, and you can tell that the other jockeys are okay, and they're all kind of almost looking at each other I want to be in my comfort zone, but when do I go here? Because I could chase him and basically finish last, or I can hold on and hope he falls into a hole.
Yeah.
And I would say, as a rider, that's you know, you have a lot of thought process going on there. It's like, well, am I doing the wrong thing here? And you're probably thinking of the likes of Matt Chapman.
You're giving us a little bit more credit than we
deserve. I think
very little thought process goes into it at all.
Yeah. I think jockeys are amazing. I think Ruby's the best man to know, like, an even pace, and I'm going to have my horse in his comfort zone. But you see the horses, like maybe in England more so, where a horse goes out in front, particularly at a tight track, and you've riders behind her, like, I can't let this go, and the first guy who goes after him often loses.
Yeah. Let's get into these because there's 2 days. We're not going to go through every single horse, every race.
Let's get into the winners.
So they're the winners. Yeah. Let's start with your tip, Johnny, is on Saturday, the 125, the Ladbrokes Dublin Steeplechase. You're going for Min.
Yeah, ultimately what I'm saying is completely...
There's hoots of derision from the crowd. Go on.
No, there was actually no derision whatsoever. Ultimately what I'm going to say here is absolutely irrelevant. Patrick is the man to ask about this.
What's the story of Min, Patrick?
Min's in great form. Dick Dowling, our head man, who rides him out every day. Delighted with him. He was very good in punches on over 2.5 miles, where he was quite keen. So the question we're going to be asked, the question we have to decide on, is whether we take on Altior again in the Champion Chase, or whether we step up to 2.5. He's a keen running horse. You know, would he just tire himself out in the Ryanair? I'm not so sure.
2.5 as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's even that extra furlong.
And it's on the old course, or the new course, which is a more stamina. But I'd be interested to hear Davy's thoughts on what he thought of Altior the other day, jumping out to his left. I mean, to me, a horse like Altior, who's ran 12 times the fences, should be able to go down to the fence and jump straight. I didn't like him jumping left.
Yeah, sure, I suppose, look, he was out in front and he was lonely, and he's not usually ridden from the front.
He's 12 runs over fences, like.
Oh, here, come here, look, it's not ideal. And
he's not a novice.
But would you believe the only time he ran around Ascot before he got beaten?
Interesting. Yeah.
So I just...
Is Altior not a horse, though, that has basically been winning so often that he's like, he knows what he's going to do? His only motivation.
You're trying to give yourselves a reason to beat Altior, and I understand that, and that's fine, but there is none. Well, just from the outside, you know, and that's fine, because they're your horses, and I don't want to. Jesus, you can insult a man's wife, but don't insult his horse. And no horse is unbeatable, but Altior looks a hell of a horse. Now, to be fair, he does, and you know, it'll be very hard to beat him.
Do you reckon Footpad's going to run?
I don't know. Sure, look, Willie. Everyone, no one believes how laid back Willie is. Like, declarations have to be done by 10 o'clock, and I've seen Willie put in a horse for 5:10, take it out at 2 minutes 10. The way he works with his head is he puts himself under intense pressure that he has to make a decision at the last minute. He doesn't. Most trainers have their declarations done by 9:30. Willie doesn't even look at them till about 10:15. He has to come in for the first lot, sit down, decide whether he's having marmalade or jam, have his toast, and if Min is lame, it can wait till he's finished his toast. Breakfast is just the most important meal of the day for the man, and myself, David, Casey and Ruby are pulling our hair out. We've 56 horses entered here tomorrow, Willie, and we could really do with some help.
I think at the moment Min is 5-2. I would strongly suggest, just from the vibes I'm getting from the man beside me, should back Min at 5-2. We could go off an awful lot short on that.
Alright, just a reminder that we do have a €100 charity bet for the Irish Inter Jockeys Fund, courtesy of the tote to put on the Dublin Racing Festival. Our winnings to date stand at €1,485. Stubbornly.
Is that each? Is that 100?
Not for one. We're going to go for Min at 5-2.
Would Tote not kind of cop themselves on a small bit? Is there a representative from Tote here, is there?
I'm not going to shine a spotlight into the crowd, but we might have...
Give us €100 each, surely.
Look, if Footpad turns up here, I'd be on Footpad's side. And I think you got to follow Footpad wherever he goes, because I think he'll definitely improve on that run at Christmas. Beaten by Simply Ned. Did everything right, but I think he will improve for that run. And I think that we got the sense from Patrick spoke to us on Friday Night Racing that the horses will improve as they go on through the season. So Footpad, I don't know what the ground is going to be like for the Dublin Racing Festival. Obviously, it's been better ground than we've expected, usually softer ground. But Footpad generally goes on any ground. He's a brilliant jumper. I think he's definitely an improver. So whether he turns up with this or not, I think Footpad is a horse you've got to be on the right side of. If he turns up on the day, I'll be backing him.
Okay, what would Footpad be?
Well, at the moment, I don't know what, Johnny, you know, but
5-4, I think, maybe.
Yeah, even money. Look, an even money winner is about a 100-to-1 loser, folks. So value is all about, is the thing going to win or not? And I think Footpad is a horse to be on the right side of.
All right, then just a reminder, you can join Tote at the Dublin Racing Festival. See the tote.com for more. Kev, you got a couple of tips for us? Is there any on the Saturday?
Yeah, one on Saturday, yeah. I'm in the 2 o'clock on Saturday.
Yeah. This is the Frank Ward Solicitors Arkle Novice Steeplechase.
Yeah, this Paloma Blue. Yeah, it's one over course and distance. The man three to my left as well, he's ridden him out as well. And Henri de Bromed, and he's... yeah, I fancy him. I fancy Paloma Blue.
I hate the way he jumps. I just, for a horse of Henry de Bromhead's, I've been so disappointed. I don't know how he won at Christmas the way he jumped. His jumping at Navan was atrocious. He was just like a guy that was afraid of his fences. But funnily enough, Brian Cooper, he's tipping him up big time for the JLT at Cheltenham. He's like, he'd be more at ease over. I don't know.
I don't know the price. I don't know what price it'll be, but that's me one. That's certainly one for the Saturday. Anyway.
Were you surprised at him, Davey, just the way he's, for a horse of his kind of, I suppose, his background, that his jumping has just been, for a Henry de Bromhead horse, been very, very deliberate?
I'd say he get better as he goes on. I'd say he's that type of horse. I wouldn't be. I agree with you. Visually, to look at it, he didn't look good. I've schooled him. Did
you school him over fences?
Yeah.
How was he?
He was good this morning. Now he was very good this morning. So I wouldn't be overly worried. But I do know where you're coming from. Visually, he didn't look brilliant, but he's definitely getting better.
Rachael, do you know if you're going to have a ride in this race yet?
No. I'm just going to sit in the chair here and not get involved, I think.
What's Paloma Blue like? You obviously would have seen them up close.
Yeah, look, I can't tell you any more than what Davey can tell you. I just know he's going to improve a lot, and you know Henry focuses a lot on his jumping, and he knows that wasn't fully up to scratch the last day, and you can be sure he won't leave any stone unturned there, you know.
Okay, so anybody opposing Paloma Blue in this race?
There's Johnny is opposed by his jumping.
Not necessarily. Like Mingley can, obviously. I thought he was, again, Davey rode him on his chase debut. He was absolutely unbelievable.
Yeah, I backed him that day as well.
Yeah,
I did back him there.
I just thought he was desperately disappointed. There's an interesting horse in the race, right?
Hold on. Some breaking news from the good people at the Tote.
Yeah.
Davey asks and they answer. They've given us €100 each for all of you. Not for them. Okay, so finally we're going to get off this €1,485 that we've been stuck on. Johnny, not looking at you. Okay, so is Paloma Blue yours?
Yeah, go on. Paloma Blue, yeah, on the Saturday, yeah. Please.
Okay. So Kevin Kilbane's going for Paloma Blue on the Saturday.
Yeah,
you're sticking with Min because that's it.
I'll go with Min.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Well, do you want to pick? Well, let's pick our €100 bet each then, and we can go back and talk about any of the races that don't get a mention. Davey, you got anything in particular that you think?
I thought maybe a horse there called Midnight Stroll of Robert Tyner's in the
He's
in the 345. Yeah, his horses are flying to 345 on Sunday, and we'll go for €50 each way.
Sorry, I missed that bit. He was talking in my ear. Say that last bit again, sorry.
Midnight Stroll, €50 each way in the 345 on Saturday.
On Saturday, the 345 on Saturday, Midnight Stroll. Johnny, you like this?
Yeah, the Tyner horse are an unbelievable form. He's a typical Cork man. Like he's just it's very hard to get any. No. Like Cork, what was the line there that came up recently on Twitter? Like a Kerry man versus a Cork man. Kerry man goes like the Cork man is the lad who'll go into the revolving door behind you, but somehow he'll not be out in front when you actually get to the end of the door. It's like Cork lads will tell you, they have so many versions of telling you something, and at the end you're like, jeez, I don't know, like, is he telling me the truth at all? Robert Tyner he's just the sharpest, shrewdest guy going, like, and no wonder that this man has had success for him as well. His horses are in unbelievable form at the moment.
Okay, all right.
But he's from Cork.
Patrick, what do you fancy over the 2 days?
I'm quite sweet on a juvenile of ours, which wouldn't be normal for me, but Tiger Tap Tap runs on the Sunday in the Grade 1 juvenile hurdle. He was only second at Christmas and got beaten by Sir Eric, one of Joseph's horses, but our horses hadn't been out on grass, and Ruby thought he was quite green. I thought a few of our horses need the run, and I thought he did very well to get as close as he did to
Sir
Eric, and I think he'll improve past him, and I think if he improves past him, that's good enough.
And you'll be getting each way pricing him as well.
No, I wouldn't be like Davey, a coward. No, I'll go all on the nose.
Shots fired.
And he's by a great stallion in Jukebox Jewelry too.
Okay, I'd say if you couldn't make it fall to him, I'd say, yeah.
Okay, so that is
like myself.
Tiger Tap Tap on Sunday. That's the 1:15 at Leopardstown. Johnny, we've got yours. Rachel, have you got a pick for us?
I know Petit Mouchoir is going to improve a lot from his run the last day in Leopardstown, and he'd be a €50 each way bet as well, I'd say.
Okay, so which race is that?
In the BHP Irish Champion Hurdle.
Okay, that's on Saturday.
Enough. What race is that?
The BHP Irish Champion Hurdle.
Do you know anything about BHP?
3:10.
They might sponsor.
What company is that?
Who the BHP Irish Champion Hurdle? They're
So
an
many
insurance
subtle
company.
hints about Ryan Hayes and the BHP tonight.
Always be closing, I believe that is. John, what have you got for us?
If Footpath turns up, he wins 125 on the Saturday. That's my charity bet. If he doesn't turn up, there's a race. I think Patrick said there that race Sir Eric Wood. I thought that was a good race at Christmas because I saw nearly every bloody one of them, which is obviously the point. Castleball West. I don't know where he's going to run, but I think he was a horse that was in a good ding-dong battle with the big dog, and the big dog won today. I think the form has worked out. They were well clear of the remainder. I don't know, Patrick, where he'll go, but I think he's a horse to follow. Would you agree?
Yeah, he's improving all the time. I don't know where he go. He's into 2-6 Grade 1, I think, and he does look a stayer. So he's improving away. I managed to get him beat in Clonmel.
I have to ask you about that because Patrick went around like the tour of the tour of Ireland basically that day, and people were like, I think Matt Chapman again, he was like, second horse should have won, and I was like, well, Patrick legitimately looked for the better grounds.
Yeah, I think I should have won the race, but not because I went wide for the nicer ground, which it was, and but
Delayed your challenge too long.
Yeah, it was his first time over hurdles, and I rode him to get over the second last and then race. Which, when a horse first time out, makes sense, but it's too short a run in Clonmel to do it. So it was experience. I won't make that mistake again.
What did WP say when you came back in?
He didn't say anything actually, and that's when you know you're in trouble. When he doesn't say anything.
I'm not angry. I'm just disappointed. Yeah. Come here. When you said that you could hear Matt Chapman saying that Duvan was drifting like a barge, is that because the TV is on in the weigh room, or you could actually right?
No, it's on in the weigh room.
All right. And does nobody think to turn the thing down, just like,
I know, yeah.
or is it like psyching each other out, going,
Or would you have more sense maybe than listen to it?
I think psychologically that's interesting because the horse did drift partly because it was an amateur riding him in the champion chase.
That's not Ruby Walsh.
Yeah, well, whether you like it or not, like it was Ruby Walsh to Patrick Mullins, and I had a right good bet on him because it was like Patrick's riding him, but that doesn't mean he should be 6-1. Like this horse, apparently, his work is fine, and obviously he lost. But I was like, for much of that race, I was very happy. It wasn't like Patrick was that much of a handicap because like he's well able to ride.
Yeah.
Thanks, Johnny.
But it was like 2-1 out to 6-1.
He'll come on the show again. Honestly.
Yeah. Patrick's been one of our more regular guests.
And it's all over now. Do you have another tip for us, Ken?
No, I've got one, on the Sunday, the 3 o'clock on Sunday, bottom horse, Libaga Uroy, which is
Warren Gretrick, whose horses are absolutely left, right and centre at the minute, actually.
Just a little one for Sunday, a little one for Sunday.
It's not the right form, is it?
Okay, yeah. She won the novice chase at Kempton at Christmas. It was a great race.
To win in Newbury as well, she's good filly by that one. She's
great jumper. Well held in third.
Yeah.
Hell of a run.
Let's just go into a bit of detail about 2 more races and then we'll wrap this up. So the BHP Insurance Irish Champion Hurdle, we've already had a tip.
Very good company, are they?
Petit Mouchoir, yeah.
What do they do?
Rachel, you might want to talk about BHP.
So look, this is a race that obviously people are going to recognise the names: Faugheen, Mellon, Petit Mouchoir, Sam Crow, Sharjah, Super Sunday, Tombstone, Farclas, Salier, Apples Jade, Larina, and
Apples Jade goes here, which is really the interesting one, isn't it?
She's the lay of the festival for me.
How come?
She jumps right. She's not going to get away with it over 2 miles. I will, subject to me emigrating in a couple of weeks, I will lay her in the smoking area. I will lay Apple Jade. I think she's
and play for a bit of dice.
Again, I'm interested in your view on what's going to run from the Mullins camp, though.
Yeah.
Lorena won't.
Possibly not. Steve Zem won't run around the fence today. Faugheen, it's day by day. He was very stiff and sore after Christmas. He was very lucky. He was very, very lucky. So he's back riding and he's riding away, but we haven't pushed any buttons yet. Mellon will turn up here. He will strip a lot fitter. It's funny how sometimes when you see a horse home, you think they look fit, and then you bring them to the races and you see them with racing saddle and a number cloth on, and I looked at him in the parade ring and I thought, the size of him. And he's after getting some hard work at home now.
That's hugely significant information. That horse is 4-1, 5-1 each way, and he's not going to be out of the tree. Like
he's going to strip a lot fitter, a bit like Rachel said about Fatima Schwar. Sharjah could come here, but Willie did say he might go straight to Cheltenham, so not quite sure. And Lorena, I don't know.
How good is Lorena?
No one knows.
But you can't say that. You cannot say the work rider has a fair idea.
Yeah, Rachel Robbins rider, but like I've seen Ruby ride horse up the gallop and say this is a machine, and then they're no good. So like it doesn't quite add up all the time. But her work at home is very good. The thing about her is she stands out. When you see her, if you can see her in the flesh, she's an absolute beast. I mean, she makes any power look small. Annie was a big mare. You would pick her out in the string. Look, all she's done is beaten novice mares. So you see the difference between Sam Crow beating novices going up to stepping up against the big boys. So she's only beating novice mares, so she has to step up hugely. Could she? Yes. Can you say she definitely will? No. So I'm as interested as anyone else to see how good she is.
There are 12 runners in this race at the moment, and if you back Mellon each way, you'll rock up in the day with the 3 each way places on a horse that'll be challenging, I think, Applejade for favourite, or certainly thereabouts.
Okay, so that makes sense from this point.
You're going to swap your in bet then, no?
I think it's right up there with Min and an each way double on Min and Mellon. Can't go wrong.
No, actually, don't let Johnny back our Mellon as well.
Do you want to lay me Min and Mellon?
That's the tip. Yeah, okay. And then the other thing we've got to talk about really in some detail here is the Unibet Irish Gold Cup goes to post at 3:35 on the Sunday. And again, this is an outstanding field of entries at the moment. We hope that loads of these stand their ground. Johnny, what do you like here?
We talked about Presenter Percy not going to run, and in fairness to connections,
don't rule it out, John. Don't rule it out.
He's absolutely no chance of running in this race. Davey might have been vaguely diplomatic, but no, he won't run in this, and he'll go back to Gorn. I'm a massive fan of Road to Respect. I think race tactics the last day were very, very critical to the victory of Kemboy, and I think Road to Respect is slightly underheralded. He's another, this each way treble is going to be quite remarkable at the end of the night. Give Road to Respect, Min and Mellon each way. Road to Respect was very, very unlucky in the race at Christmas. He lost so much ground twice in that, basically his momentum was completely checked, and the guts he showed to nearly finish second. I can't put CMB in the first 3 and run a big race, and he's my idea of the Gold Cup winner if Presenting Percy doesn't do it, but I think he's a great each way bet here.
Okay, so that's Road to Respect. What do you say in a hypothetical situation where Presenting Percy didn't make this race? What else do you like?
Oh, it's a hell of a good race. Obviously, Album Photo's form is franked hugely today with invitation only. So, and obviously Presenting Percy. So he's a high class horse. Just again, Rachael will tell you more about him. But Balco de Flo, he is in some order. He ran a big race, had a great run in this race last year. So I wouldn't rule him out if the ground was dry. And again, you're not quite sure what's going to turn up. You would have to say that visually looking at the race, the last day, Road to Respect did look unlucky. But really, at the end of the day, Kemboy has a load of ones behind his name, and you'd have to kind of stand and look at it. And he's a very talented horse. He got it all right. He put it all together at the top end the last day, and to be honest, it wouldn't surprise me if he improved again for that experience. So I think Kemboy will be favourite and will justify it, but it wouldn't surprise me if Album Photo or the likes of Balco de Flo would get a little bit closer to him.
When you're on a horse that's won over course and distance, do you notice the horse feels more comfortable in the race? Is that what it is, or what?
Yeah, I think once a horse has a pleasant experience of a race course, I've often stood in the yard in Cheltenham and watched horses come down off the lorry that had been there before, and you could nearly see it on their face to be begging you, can you please put me back in the lorry, I don't like this place. And you can see horses coming down off the lorry in Cheltenham, or different, I wouldn't see him as much in the race course in Ireland because we'd be coming, but in Cheltenham you get to see him because we're in the yard, and they'd grow a hand, you know what I mean, they'd grow an inch when they see where they are, if you know what I mean. So it definitely does have a factor to play. Course and distance,
it makes sense.
I think it's a huge it's a huge part to play in a horse. If a horse has a bad experience in the track, I would question.
Is there a possibility that horses don't have a great experience but actually get used to something? Maybe
they do definitely. Again, you see, it all has its own thing. There may be reason.
Individual at the end of the day.
Yeah, there may be reason. Like, look.
So you don't ride off a horse just because it has one bad experience in the track?
No, it has to be a consistent flow. Like if a horse...
some horses do, but it's like a fella getting a smack in a hurling match. Like, some fellas lie down, sometimes get up. But every horse is different. They have different personalities. Some horses don't mind getting knocked, they get back up and win the next time out. Or some horses might take them.
Kevin will tell you there about marking lads in a match. Like to some, I'd imagine you.
I wasn't a great marker.
No, but I'd imagine you'd go to a game and you would say, "Oh, jeez, not him again. He's going to stand on my toes. He's going to pull me shirt. He's going to pinch me under the arm." Like, I'm not
Fabregas.
Just not
Kevin Muscat.
But I'm not just this, and then you go into your shell, or you go to another game and you say, that bastard got me the last day, he's not going to do it again today, and you raise your game. It's all
100%, that's what you do, isn't it? That's exactly what it is, yeah.
And it's all about mentality, and horses do have a brain, and some horses, when they get to a certain stage, they either improve or disimprove or stay the same, or they may be carrying an injury before and it may have begun, or they may have been lacked a run or something.
How much as a jockey can you influence that, or how much of that do you need to
that's
feel
your
and
job.
know about?
That's your job, as David Mullins showed in that race at Christmas time.
Would you have done that actually? Would you have done what he did?
Look, I suppose circumstances change. We were going very slow and he was riding a horse that seemed to be that it suited, but I suppose, like,
if you were riding for Jigginstown, would that be different doing that for David, who's kind of he's on almost a spare for Willie Mullins here?
Yeah, but look, that's what makes different riders good or bad, or make them decisions. Do you know what I mean? Like, if David Mullins done that and he finished last, he'd have to go and face to owners, or more so Willie, because he's owned by a syndicate. Well, you know what, if you know what I mean. And he'd have to go in, and Willie, I'd imagine, would say, you probably made a bad decision there. But lucky enough, he's riding for Willie, who understands these situations, I'd imagine.
Willie said at the time, or afterwards, he's like, I was thinking at the time, what am I going to actually say to him? I'm going to give him a bollocking after racing. We don't appreciate this. Well, as you said, we don't appreciate this enough in racing, that a lad makes a mid-race move like that to win an Irish Gold Cup. And
well, he was faced with a very easy choice. The pace slowed up, and his horse started to get keen. And he's a keen horse, so his choice was: do I sit against him and fight him in a 3-mile race and fight him for the next mile and a half and use up all my energy for that?
And plus, you're running around the bend down to that fence away from the stands. I would much prefer to be going down to that fence relaxed than keen. So he felt that.
But it was a harder thing to do. I mean, most lads would just sit against them, because then you don't look stupid. You don't make the mid-race move. You don't look stupid if it doesn't work out. You sit there. You come back in and say the horse is keen. You got bet. And David, he has this bit of a devil-may-care attitude, and it works against him sometimes. It works for him other times. And it's a bit like Paul Carby, like that's
take the plaudits when it works, and you must take the criticism when it doesn't. So, and that's what separates maybe a good rider, again, relate to other sports, to simplify it, or golfers or anything. That's what separates them. The lad that's going to drive a ball out over the lake, or the fella that's going to drop short and take the safe route in.
It's like Zidane having the audacity to dink the ball off the bar in a final, off a penalty, and just say, "Yeah, I'm going to do this,"
and then headbutt a fella.
Exactly.
But that was 99 times out of 100, the ball will land in the water, and the one time it lands on the green and you win the Open, then you're a hero. Yeah. And if they forget about the 99 times you dropped it in the water,
and it was worth it. It was absolutely worth it. Okay, so John, what do you like in the Gold Cup here?
I like Kenboy because it's all about NKOTB, New Kids on the Block. So,
does anyone remember them?
Who are they?
I'll take that, fans in the audience here. So, Clan des Oboe won the King George, one of the biggest races of the season in steeplechasing at Kempton. 6-year-old, Kenboy 6-year-old. I think it's about improvers. That's the way I'm looking at the kind of the Gold Cup market for both this and for later in the season. So I think Album Photo's got jumping issues at times. Road to Respect, you can't disagree with what Johnny's saying. He has won a Lexus, as they call it. I think it's a Savills chase now. So he likes course and distance. Monolith, I like as a consistent horse, but always tends to find one too good. Annabelle Fly, not so sure. if he needs a few more pounds to be a graded horse. Waiting patiently. He's never won over 3 miles, even when he comes over from the UK. So Ken Boy, I like the way he finished his race last time. I think he's an improver, and I'm with Davey as well. But I think Davey is spot on about Balco de Flo. As a horse I really thought was impressive at in last season's Cheltenham Festival. He's run well at Leopardstown before, and I think Balco de Flo, once again, Henry de Bromhead is a great trainer of chasers and getting them to jump. So I think Rachael might back me up on that one.
Yeah, I'd love to be able to get the same tune out of Balco as Davy did. He didn't run well over Christmas, so he'll need to come on from that. So, but he's well capable of doing so.
Lads, great stuff. Thanks very much to everybody involved here. My thanks to everybody involved in putting this show together. I want to particularly thank our guests tonight, Patrick Mullins, Rachael Blackmore, Davey Russell, Nicky English, Emma Doyle, my co-hosts Kev, Johnny Ward and John Duggan, the Sugar Club for hosting us. A particular thanks to everybody at HRI and Barbara White for helping us put this together, to everybody on our team for putting this together as well, to Sue and to JP, and to JP never puts his own name on the but that's JP, everybody over there. You can give him a big round of applause. To Louise and to the guys on sound as well. But we can't do this show without the people who show up, so give yourselves the biggest round of applause tonight. Come on, you've been such a lovely audience. And one last thing, remember to get your tickets for the Dublin Racing Festival at leopardstown.com. Good night, thanks very much.